Well, folks, we're officially in the swing of things when it comes to the World Cup, and as we've said in our previous videos, we are going to be at hand to talk about it, even through gritted teeth when it comes to all the other shit going around. But it's a World Cup. We're going to talk about it here on the Liquid Football Podcast. So I'm joined as ever by Neil and friend of the show, Dave, who's joining us for the first time. But don't worry, folks. Dave knows a lot more about football than we do, to be honest. So you're an expert witness, if anything, Dave, for this one. So. But we'll get stuck into it, lads. So, as at time of recording, and hopefully before any of the other knockout games kick off, we have just seen the last of the group stage action, namely the last match to go across the line was Serbia versus Switzerland. A fun affair by all, but we will get to that in time. I'll ask you first of all, lads, have you enjoyed the World Cup so far? If you try and ignore the fact it's in Qatar,
It's been the best one since 2002, in my personal opinion,
hmm.
just because of the unpredictable. You can't predict this. You just can't predict what's going to happen. Like you couldn't predict that, Saudi Arabia were going to beat Argentina. You couldn't predict that, Cameroon will beat Brazil, for example, today. I just enjoy the unpredictability of it. It's just one of these World Cups where you just don't know what's going to come from where.
Mm.
That's true. Yeah. It's I think out of recent World Cups, this is the highest highs, like in terms of like holy fuck, what that. But also like it's got some like stunning lows. Like we've already got 5-0 all draws. The World Cup record is 7. Um, so we're only 2-0 all draws off the all-time record.
Mm.
Um, and there has been some like pretty abominable matches. But yeah, I mean, I have to admit, so like the upsets in this one are the most up. It's definitely the most upsettingest World Cup that's been around in a while. I don't know if it's the best World Cup, but it's definitely the most.
Yeah, I think we were only saying this before we started, Neil, was that like I think like if you're with the bare bones, I think the actual World Cup, like football wise, is low in actual quality. But I think because of that, then it means that the drama and like shocks and stunnings are more frequent.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
I
Like
suppose that kind of like makes it better in a sense.
yeah,
Everyone's at a more level playing
it
field.
definitely makes it better. I mean, the bookies are probably raking it in while
Mm.
simultaneously shitting themselves. But as I said just before we hit record, there, I was like, oh, it's almost as if giving the teams absolutely fuck all time to prepare somehow has impacted the level of football. But
It is quite insane, actually. Yeah, but also like it's given the smaller teams a chance because, like I said, there's a lot of like big hitters out already in the group stages, and a lot of them you'd argue like do better with a lot of preparation work when they have the facilities and capabilities for doing that. Whereas some you knew were going to fall on their arse anyway, and it was just almost inevitable. But we'll get through. We'll go through the groups and go from there. So we'll start off then with Group A, which started off as Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and Netherlands, and it began hilariously with a 2-0 loss by by Qatar to Ecuador. Like I we obviously watched this first match as it came out. I don't think I've ever seen a worse host nation. I mean, I know this is going out saying that Qatar don't have the biggest legacy in football going in, and obviously it's the newest possible team in the competition. But my God, like these lads were literal deer in the headlights watching them play. Like they looked so unprepared for the situation. And I think what was even worse about it for me was that once the Qatar fans realized how bad the team was, they just stopped supporting them. Like the attendances, and I mean actual attendance, not the fucking inflated WWE style numbers that fucking FIFA are putting out here, because that's all horseshit, by the way. Um, like once you actually see the distinct lack of home support, I think it actually makes this Qatar's situation more sad. Because the fact that like nobody, in the end, nobody cared,
well,
not even their home fans.
the 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 attendance was huge at the beginning of the games. It's
Yes,
by the
that's the thing.
end,
It was a full house for the first one, and then
by
they
the
all
end,
fucked
there was
off.
fuck all people there.
They all left at half time, which is fucking pathetic.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's hilarious. And funnily enough, actually, they were the most prepared team. Because they had something like 6 or 7 friendlies before this game, before this tournament kicked off, and they did like an
Yes.
intensive 2 month um training camp in, I think, Marbella.
Yeah, and they also stopped the domestic league 6 months beforehand to give the national team the best possible chance, which meant conversely they were going completely cold because he had fucking no match time, they had no form.
Also,
when
aren't they?
when sorry, Neil.
No, aren't they the current Asian Cup champions?
The Asian Cup champions, yeah.
Like, I'm like, so when do you think deer in the headlights? I was like, these have won tournaments before. Like, these aren't scrubs. Yeah,
I think
like, I
it's
looked it up. 10 friendlies. They played 10 friendlies against European teams.
Jesus.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a matter of it's a nation that's tried to manufacture a football culture into the country. Like when you really think about it, even if you look at Saudi Arabia, they have a history in the World Cup. They've been there before. They've qualified before. They may not have the biggest footballing, heritage in the world, but they've got one. Iran have one. Qatar have tried to manufacture this. They've got this Aspire Academy that has these world class facilities and coaches, and they try and put youngsters through that and have a world class, international team. But it didn't work for China, and it's not working for Qatar.
Yeah, it's exact same notes to it, isn't it? It's like they just like it is that kind of like that Beatles song, the money can't buy you love. It like you can't just inject money overnight and expect it to work. You do need to like it's more of a time aspect to it than anything else. And again, when you are such a small country, it's like us expecting us to be a powerhouse in fucking 12 years if you have the same money. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, sure, might have a certain level of talent, but eventually the well runs dry, lads. Like
Well, we don't have any money.
we don't have any money exactly. Like we wouldn't know what to do with it if we had the
We've
case.
not got that
Too
talent,
busy.
and we don't have the money.
No,
Too busy paying Robbie Keane to do anything.
exactly, yeah. So the group does end up with the Netherlands topping the group and Senegal finishing second. Ecuador miss out. I feel bad for Ecuador really because I actually really enjoyed watching them play. I thought they were really good. Like again against Qatar they were very like small potatoes in that sense. But genuinely the game against Netherlands I thought they had put a really good account for themselves, and I actually quite like their style. Very set piece oriented. A lot of decent raw talent. I think they're the youngest team in the
Mm-hmm.
competition. And just like
Yeah,
they just have some pretty good raw players there. It was great.
they just stripped away the kind of senior players from the last tournament. So when you had the likes of Yerry Mina and other players who were signed by Everton and all that, they're kind of falling off now into the latter stages of their careers. So they're bringing through these new young kind of international stars. It's a more domesticated team as well. So
True.
I really feel they had a bit of a not an unlucky draw for the group because obviously people who go and say, oh, it should be Senegal, blah blah. Not really. Senegal, have been fantastic in the last few tournaments, but I think if there was a team that I would have rather over Senegal, definitely would have been Ecuador. I kind of
Sure.
would have liked to have seen another kind of South American team in there. Just we don't get to see them as often, so these tournaments are a great way to see the teams we don't get to see otherwise. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, you're
That's
right.
absolutely true, yeah.
I think Ecuador was a little shining light in that group. And it's a shame that they've gone home.
Yeah, like I think it's a recurring theme with these groups where sometimes the third place teams are actually nicer to watch, whereas the other teams kind of just knew how to win or they got enough of a result. But again, every group is different in that sense. But yeah, like I think with Senegal at least, like they grew into the tournament a bit more. Like I thought they were very flat against the Netherlands. And then that you could argue that's because like with Mane missing, they weren't quite sure what way to lay out themselves. But then obviously the game against Qatar just gave them all the answers. You just knew, oh, just play all of our other forwards. Who fucking knew? And that just seemed to work. Like, and the game against the actual decider against Ecuador was a cracking game, absolute cracking game. They both
Yeah.
gave it socks for the duration. So
Yeah, well, to a degree, I think Senegal in the match against the Dutch, I think they actually did acquit themselves quite well. I mean, the two Dutch goals, I mean, if they lost that 2-0, and the two Dutch goals came in the 84th and the 98th minute.
yeah,
So,
true.
like, it wasn't as if like they weren't steamrollered or anything like that. And then if anything, you could say that those two goals were goalkeeper errors. I mean,
Yeah.
Mendy didn't exactly, fucking cover himself in glory. The first goal was directly a fault for him, and with the second one, you're like, yeah, you need to be doing better there, mate. You know, somebody slots that home in the Premier League, you're getting pelters from your goalkeeping coach the next day.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, I'm delighted for Senegal. Really hope now. I mean, their reward in inverted commas for coming second now is they get England.
Yes, indeed. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But like I said, like Senegal do have the like certain positives in that sense. Like I think they are. I think he can be a very physical side, and I think if Koulibaly is on form, like he's very hard to get past, and he does have good companions in defense as well. So he's not just a one man band in that sense. But yeah, like in the end, this is kind of how I expected this group to go. So considering that some of the other groups we're going to talk about, this is actually wonderfully normal. Like all
Oh
things
yeah,
considered,
it goes batshit pretty fucking quickly after
it
this.
really fucking does. It really does. So in that case, then we go to Group B, which again is probably proportionate. To be fair, England top the group. The US go through after their crunch game against Iran. Iran themselves finished third, and Wales do get 1 point from their World Cup escapade, that being the one against the US. So I think a lot of it has been made about the England team overall, lads, and this group flattered to deceive, in my view. And particularly the Iran game where they just kind of like obviously let loose on them once Iran lost their main goalkeeper. Um, well, let's be honest, they didn't even mean lose their own main goalkeeper. His face was obliterated. Like the whole defense was a calamity after that. I think the game against the US was more on brand for what this England team are, in my view. And the Wales match was a surrender by the Welsh. They just lost everything in there. I can't say I'm disappointed in the Welsh team. I think this is just where they're at, because the two best players are horrendously out of form and they're not match fit whatsoever. And the young lads they were hoping would kind of like, make a surprise, like Williams and Brennan Johnson, just didn't apply themselves enough. I think they tried their best, but look what you're up against. You're up against actually good teams here with actual proper coaches. But they seem to have fun along the way, and in the end, lads, isn't that what matters?
It is. Some might lament the fact that they picked probably the worst time to put in their three worst performances in recent times, because they were shite.
Yes.
But I suppose they were really just there to be there, kind of going, yeah, this will be so great for us. And so when they qualified, they were just kind of like, I'm just really hoping that we get a favorable group. They kind of didn't.
No.
So they're like, fuck. And yeah.
In the Wales of 2016,
Mm.
if it was here, would have made a difference. But you see, the Wales of 2016 was here, which didn't help.
Yeah.
So,
Literally nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. I
at
mean,
all.
delusion of Gareth Bale is one that really frustrates me. I understand they want to throw
So
everything at
bad.
it. He
Oh,
was terrible.
he was
I
so
mean,
bad.
I know he spent the last 2 years trying to get on the PGA Tour, but I mean, you have to really concentrate on your football. I mean, you play for Real Madrid. I understand, shit happens in football. You fall out with managers, whatever. But from a player who was tipped as one of the best in the world when he made his move, he won the Champions League for Real Madrid, for God's sake, and
Yeah.
to see him play like that, it's a bit of a it's just not a good account of him, especially on the stage like this.
Yeah, had his name been anything other than Gareth Bale, he'd have been dropped pretty much midway through the first game and never played again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that
That's
that's
totally fair.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then the curious case of Iran in this group as well. So they still, despite being like smashed by England, they still managed to get two very decent goals out of them. So that game like ended up being 6-2. But I think really like the Iran's kind of World Cup is almost defined by what happened outside of it, really. Like it was like out of all the countries, I think that took part in this World Cup, and again, like we put out a video about how this World Cup is very important geopolitically. If you're particularly selling fighter jets or crude oil, but for Iran, like this was something different because there's a lot of shit happening at home, and a lot of these players are going to be directly affected by it. A few of them aren't because obviously they play in different territories and countries and so forth, but they still feel the same ultimate pressure. Like they've been asked their opinion on these things. Their manager has had to go the opposite way because clearly he has to. I don't think Carlos Queiroz has a say in the matter. He has to toe the fucking government line, whereas the players don't, and have decided not to, which is very very brave of them. Uh, so like if for anyone who hasn't been following it, a lot of it's been down to the national anthem because that's been seen as a kind of validation of the regime, and that's kind of been the source of their issues because for the last two games they've been forced to sing the national anthem for fear of intimidation back at home, particularly to their families. So it's been a horrible time for them, and the fact they've been able to play to play a game of football throughout all of this turmoil, I think is quite incredible. Because Dave, I know you were a big proponent for the Iranian side going into this World Cup. How do you feel they fared out? Because obviously they're out now. Could have easily gone through based on the if the game against USA went another way. But are you proud of the Iranian team? Are you happy with the performance?
I think they should be. I think they should be proud of what they've done out there because I mean, you have teams in this tournament who have really just been tepid and very unimpressive. At least Iran put up the fight. They tried to play. They came out. They scored. They scored goals. They scored very good goals at that. And ultimately, I think with Iran, it was always going to be political. It was always going to be, you know, looked on as. I mean, look at Iran v USA was, for God's sake, the most political football match in one of the the history of the bloody World Cup. But they got
Yeah.
a win over Wales. They have 3 points on the board. That's the main thing. They scored. They won. And I mean, look, 4 goals in the tournament is nothing to sniff at.
Yeah.
Especially in that group. You really got to look at it and go, okay, well, we've scored,
Yeah.
we've put 3 points on the board, and to be honest with you, I think they couldn't have played any harder than they did. It's just that was their level. They played to their level, and it just wasn't good enough to see them through.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, when you're at the sharp end of this group, like I mean, I will say though, I think they do make history for the first time their fans have ever celebrated their elimination from a World Cup. Because again, that's their constant presence at the World Cup is seen as validation for the country. So I admire the fact that like they're celebrating, yay, we're out of the World Cup. Fuck these guys, fuck our country. It's like so it's very counterintuitive logic, you know. But I suppose you could argue because the narrative was being pulled away from the Iranian players, I think it was the right time to pull the plug on that if you want. But then it obviously leaves the US then going through, and I really don't know what to think of this US team. Like I think it's such a weird team to look at. I look at the team and go like, oh, they're all quite like hotshot good players, and then I see that Gio Reyna is on the bench because the coach doesn't like him. It's such a weird fucking system. I don't get it. Like it's a touch of the Southgates for me. I don't know what you guys think about it.
It's America. It's the kind of athletic, you know, the way the American athletic system works. Whether it doesn't matter whether it's football or running or anything like that. Sprinting doesn't matter. There's always going to be that hierarchy of the manager or the owner or the head coach does not like someone, they're not going to use them. It's always been like that. I think America at the World Cup is always theater. It's always cringy, overdone, but in a sense, you love it anyway.
Yes, it's part of
Um,
the charm, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Trying too hard, like.
they've got Pulisic is sweating it now. I think he's
Mm.
going to be sweating it for the knockouts, whether or not he's going to be able to play. But I think you're dead right.
I think I read there that he's cleared to play against the Dutch. Um, so yeah, he'll probably there. But yeah, no, they've got a good team. They've got some real seriously young players. Like it's a surprisingly young team,
Yeah.
and like there's some real quality throughout here, but it's just fucking what they do with it. Like Berhalter
Mm.
doesn't really seem to know doesn't really know how to play his hand as well as he should.
Yeah.
When you've got this, I mean, playing
Mm.
favorites as well is never a good thing for a national coach to do. Like it never works out. It never works out. It never works out.
I think you're dead right. I think he didn't come into this tournament really with his best 11, did he? He kind of just shuffled and kind of moved the players around a bit too much for me. I don't think he went into it with an 11. I don't think he went in going, right, I've got really good, talented midfielders in Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson, really good winger. You've got Serginho Dest. This American team has, is oozing talent at the minute.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has any structure in his mind as to how he wants these guys to play, game in, game out at a tournament. Because I would go in with, right, who have I got as my best 11, regardless of how I feel about the players. Who is, where do they play? Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson at Leeds, right? These two play in the Premier League, one of the top leagues in the world. I'm going to use them. He just doesn't seem like he knows where he wants these guys to play and what kind of, synergy he wants in this team.
Yeah, very true. And like ultimately, like I think the win against Iran obviously gets them through, but like it's even the game, like I think they played well in that game in particular, and I think that was enough. But from my point of view, like I just when they do actually go up against quality is where they're going to get shown up, because I don't think this team, the way it's set up, not necessarily the players, but it's the way they play is just not going to generate enough chances. Now again, we could be proven wrong, and tomorrow the Dutch are going to have a hard time. We don't know, but from us looking in, that's what it looks like. But it's probably you talk about managers playing favourites, because Gareth Southgate's England is still knocking about. Got through this group relatively unscathed, to be fair. The match against the US was a damn squib, as we know, and the Wales game very much was just a pity party at that stage. But one thing I probably would say is that it's been a kind of story of everyone else but Kane scoring at the minute, which again is I don't know if that's like boils Southgate's blood or not, because Kane is kind of one of his important players. So would it be a fear that the core of that English team would let them down, or is it now a case they need to rely on the squad for a change?
No, Kane does other things. Like he's not like just a solely striker. Like if he drops down, he's a this pains me as an Arsenal fan to say, but he's a stunning like number 9. He really is a fucking great player. Like he can drop back and just feed some impressive through balls. Like that's how Spurs utilize him. When they let Son run ahead of him, people go, oh well, I'll track Kane. You're like, no, track the guy he's going to be threading the through ball to, because he can really fucking do. Oh, he's just done it. So, but yeah, no, it's weird. Like I look at Southgate constantly shuffling this deck, and it's just weird. I see some really weird fucking questions. Like people are like, oh, should he play Foden or should he play Saka? I was like, not or. That's the biggest one for me, right? Well, second biggest one. And the second biggest one for me is this decision whether or not you should play Foden or Saka, when any normal manager would field the two of them, drop Mount and field both Foden and Saka. They're fucking brilliant. They can do that. It's this either or shit. I don't get.
I completely and utterly agree with you, because if Gareth Southgate goes into this game in a 4-2-3-1, why wouldn't you want Foden in behind Kane, Sterling on the left, Saka on the right, and literally just have them overlap? Kane drops back a bit. You've got Foden who can score from anywhere. You've got the two wingers coming in who know how to pass the ball. As you said, if Kane holds the ball up and does the dirty work, that's a front line that, to me, if it's used correctly, can
terrifying.
Saying it is
fucking terrifying. And also, they're all really young as well. So that's not like we'll only see it at this one. We might be seeing that front line for the next probably 2 World Cups.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm like that can only get better. The main thing as well is that he's still picking Maguire at the back. And I don't want to fucking weigh in on. I don't want to weigh in on Maguire, but like I'm just looking at that going, like we'll get onto Belgium in a minute, and you see what they're like with their fucking centre back pairings. And you're going, what is up with these people? I'm like, all right, then fine. Maybe Maguire does perform well, but like, right. So the excuse is that he performs well on the national stage, and right. Let's give you that massive benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
If he's not performing well at the club level, then you cannot be picking him on merit.
You're picking him off precedence, off loyalty.
You're picking him off like previous international precedent. And that's not picking your team on merit. Oh, the guys who performed for me well the other day. No, you have to look at it. That's why you get free tickets to almost every club game, so you can go and watch the players and go, oh yeah, he's playing really well. I'm like, if he showed up to every single Manchester United fucking game, he'd have only seen Harry Maguire start once. He started once in 3 months. So like, he's not picking him on form. He cannot be picking him on merit. He's just saying, oh well, he performs well. I was like, anybody performs well in that ultra defensive setup, because he has, it's a flat five, it's a back five at times. It's a flat back five with two in front. I was like, fucking, like, lads, any one of us would perform well in defense.
But you're being protected so much. Like,
it's
that's
no
the
protection,
thing.
he doesn't have to run further than my fucking this room.
Yes.
So that's just wonderful for him. He'll just mop shit up, But yeah, it's
so how would you assess England's chance then? Because obviously they do have Senegal in the in the round of 16, and it would appear, based on the current situation, sitrep, that they're likely to get France in the quarterfinals, essentially. And for me, I feel like that is their ceiling, unless there's shenanigans happening in the French camp, which is always likely because it is the French camp. But even then, like, I just feel like that's like, I can't see them got any further than this, because I think there's critical flaws in that team. Like we said, their front four is immaculate. It's absolutely fabulous. But as you guys have said very, very well there, they don't make use of that really. They kind of use 3/4 of it or half of it each time, and it could be better, and that's what the most frustrating thing looking at the team.
His choice of who to bring to Qatar was my main gripe with the England squad. And you're right about Harry Maguire, but another one for me was Calvin Phillips. I don't think he's played anywhere near enough or well enough for City to warrant getting there over other potential players. But the one thing I will say is, if he shifts that back four, and for example, if he puts Connor Cody out in the middle, and even if he goes to a back three, because there's no one really there that can take over from Luke Shaw, to be honest, when you're really looking at that squad, there is no real alternative. But you have Kyle Walker and you have, Trent, who are both right fullbacks or right wing backs. So if he focuses on his right hand side, because look at Bellingham, Saka, and if he puts on Trent or someone with a bit of pace like Kyle Walker, drops Mount as Niall said. I mean, Declan Rice is the only other one that maybe hasn't hit the heights, but at the same time, you've got Marcus Rashford as well. I mean, come on. If you throw every bit of your front line out and just tweak that defense a little bit, I'd say you're looking at a kind of 50-50 between England and France if they make it past Senegal.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. It is purely down to just doing it right, and that's where my concern with Southgate is, that I don't know if he's able to do that. If he just is blinded by, and again, it depends on your point of view whether loyalty is better than form when it comes to picking a national squad. Like, he knows these players better than anything else. I think it's just a shame that the likes of, say, a Tomori or an Abraham couldn't entice him, because they're doing so well in a different league. Like, does he perceive that the Serie A as a step down to the Premier League? Is that the belief?
I personally think it's an insult not to bring Fikayo Tomori to Qatar. He's won the Serie A with AC Milan for the first time in how many 10 years? He's been the best centre half. Oh yeah, best centre half in Serie A in my opinion. And to not bring him or Tammy Abraham for that matter to the World Cup,
it's snobbery.
It beggars belief. It really does.
It is real snobbery. The thing about the defense, like, they're good. The back line is good and the defensive midfielders are good, but they've not had to deal with any real pace.
Yes, that's the thing.
They will now. They do not now. Senegal have pace. Those boys can run.
They always have had. That's.
And we'll get into this when we're discussing the round of 16.
Yes.
But like, it's weird that he's still shuffling. I'm like,
yeah. Like he obviously doesn't know his best team, but he almost feels like obliged to play one of the players that people like. He's like, okay, here's Phil Foden, here's Marcus Rashford, here's Trent for 6 minutes. Are you happy now? It's almost like it feels like it's like he's trying to engineer an excuse not
It's
to use them.
it's like the scouts, isn't it? It's like, right, lads, I'm going to be your friend. I'm your friend. I'm not your manager. I'm your friend.
And
Right? You're all going to get some game time. We're going to shuffle things about. That's what it seems like.
Not you, James Madison. You're not getting anything. You sit there.
He
You
wants to
sit there and
please
swim for a
everyone.
bit. Yeah, you play darts. You play
Yeah,
darts.
he just wants to please everyone. I think that's his biggest flaw. Is
Yeah,
he's too much of a I would rather be a friend than your manager.
yeah, very, very true. So yeah, we'll talk about the round of 16 later. We'll move on to Group C though, which ended with Argentina topping the group, Poland in second, and Mexico third, and Saudi Arabia last. Now, you'll notice there I omitted to mention the points in that system because
the
this
spread
group
on this one.
went this group went down to the fucking wire. So follow me on this journey if you haven't seen Group C. It starts off with a drab 0-0 draw between Mexico and Poland. But if you're watching the previous game, you'll see Argentina, Lionel Messi's Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia 2-1, which is perhaps the biggest shock in recent history. Like I'm finding it hard to find one that was on par with that.
I don't think there is one. I mean, the only other one I can think of that was in this tournament, and I'm sure we will touch on it, is Japan
Yes.
and Spain. Um,
Mm.
but ultimately, no. I think Germany's previous campaign was the only other big shocker when they went out group stage again. But yeah, I don't think you're going to find one. Saudi Arabia, my memories of Saudi Arabia are Ireland putting 3 goals past them in 2002. I don't, that was the Saudi Arabia I remember. And to come out and beat Argentina is, that'll be that'll be a national day celebration for them. I can guarantee that.
Well, that's just it. Like they did actually get a national a day off. Actually, they did make it a national holiday in the end. But even then, like you mentioned that 2002 team, like and you said like we always seem to see Saudi Arabia in the World Cup, like, but this is a much better team World Cup team than we've seen in the last couple of entries. Like this is a team that can play football. They've got a fantastic coach in Henri Renard, who has done magical stuff with national teams in the past. So it makes complete sense for him to be here. And he just like orchestrated a fantastic performance here. He got those players to beat Argentina, which is, as I said, for me, it's almost a celebration of what the World Cup is about. Is that happening?
His halftime team talk was put up on social media.
Yes.
Halftime against Argentina. And you very rarely get to have a look into that kind of.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's very very strange to see that kind of content and to see what goes on at halftime.
Nice.
But
didn't he have to come out before the Poland game and deny the rumor that the Saudi government had given every single player a Rolls Royce as a present? Because he's like, no, we haven't even got out of the group stages yet. We haven't played our second game. Can everybody chill?
Chill the fuck.
And he didn't actually say that. I'm heavily paraphrasing, but
yes.
Yeah, that's just it. It's just a shame how the rest of it went. It really, really is. Like, okay, Poland probably definitely had a bit too much of a kind of stalwart nature for them. I didn't really fancy them against Poland, to be perfectly honest. I didn't fancy them against Argentina, but I definitely thought that they'd get something out of a Mexico game, and it's just a shame how it all.
Yeah. Well, this was the exciting part, of course, because as you said, Poland did beat them, and Lewandowski finally scoring his World Cup goal. After how many, like four attempts, like a lunacy to think of a player like that. And then Argentina got on the board then with a win against Mexico. So the group is so well poised at this stage, because obviously Mexico only getting the 1 point. You have Poland and Argentina now off the mark with wins. Saudi Arabia there as well. It all comes down to the last day. And Argentina kind of were, they had Poland very well beaten, in my view. Just even from the state of play, it took them a while to score the goal, but like based on the balance of play, Argentina absolutely had them covered. Poland were trying desperately to defend for their lives, and then all the attention turned to Mexico, because the competitive record between the two were so close that at one stage during this, Poland were going to go through because they had lesser yellow cards than Mexico.
Only two fewer yellow cards than Mexico. Yes. And I'm going, holy fuck. If somebody gets, wasn't that was actually brought up? It was like something the coach was just like saying to the players at halftime or something like, just don't get booked.
Don't
Don't.
get booked. Yeah,
Because it was at that point at halftime, and he was like,
yeah.
whatever you do, don't get booked. Because if two of you get booked, it goes to drawing lots.
Exactly. And,
Well,
it also showed the arse of how like awful some of the punditry is, especially on the BBC side. Danny Murphy, the commentator, going, "I don't understand this Poland team. Why aren't they putting in tackles in? Why aren't they being more aggressive? Just get the yellow cards. What matters?" It's like, Danny,
If they pick up,
dear,
they
you're
pick
not
up
on
only
top sport
two.
anymore. You have to work with the grown-ups now, okay? Gabby Bonlahor's not here to rub your head, all right? Sit the fuck down for a minute.
he just he rocks up and he just talks on the day. He doesn't actually do any research.
I don't think he
Like
knows how to spell research, Dave. Like
that's,
What do you
that's
mean?
all.
Searching it again and again? Fuck that.
asking Siri what Google is. But yeah, like I said, it set up for a wonderful finale where Mexico were chasing a third goal because all they needed was a third goal, and then they were through. That was all they needed. And then, alas, the 95th minute, the one attack Saudi Arabia have in that half, and they score a goal, and all of Mexico deflates. Like, that is the level of drama and chaos that you want at a World Cup. And you'd have to say props to Saudi Arabia for providing both of the shocks and dramas in this group. Like for me, like Mexico, this was like too little, too late for me. Like in fairness, like with Argentina, this team they got the shit together towards the end of the group, particularly in the Poland game, because they started settling on what they think is their best team. They're still leaving a lot off the plate, especially with the likes of Lautaro Martinez not getting in the side, but they're relying on the likes of McAllister for chances and Julian Alvarez. And in fairness, they're scoring goals for him, so you can't really argue with that logic. Same story with Mexico. I think they just were too reliant on certain players and left it too late to fix that. Like one game wasn't going to rescue them, so they're out, unfortunately.
Well, they seemed there was parts of it where Mexico seemed to be almost going in slow motion. Like I was like, are these guys awake? You know,
I'm very disappointed by Mexico showing.
very disappointed. In particular, when you consider just how poor Poland were. Like Poland, like I saw on one forum, there's like somebody reckoned that Poland are probably the worst team to qualify through to the round of 16. And I don't think I'd say you could definitely make the argument there. I wouldn't agree with it, but I would definitely entertain the argument. But like to say that Mexico couldn't have gotten ahead of what is a fairly limited Polish team, how many they'll look at this and see this as an opportunity completely blown. Totally
100%,
like, they're 0-0 against them. Like they really, really tried their fucking damnedest to throw it away.
Yeah.
You know. And man, I was just
they could. The only thing they will come away with is a potential goal of the tournament.
Yes. Yeah. Maria Chavez's goal was superb. Absolutely fucking beautiful.
That's it, but that's it.
Yes. It's very much a battle of the Mexican national team, isn't it? We move on into Group D, who was again had his own fair share of shocks as well. Australia started the competition being trounced 4-1. Well, that's not true, actually. They started the competition scoring against France and get the surprise there. And then France switched up the gears, put 4 past them, and Australia's fate seemed doomed from then. But alas, gentlemen, that was not the end of the story for the Socceroos, because they score a goal against Tunisia and win the game with result defending, and then they score against Denmark and win the game through result defending, and get themselves into the round of 16 for I think the second time only, if I'm not mistaken, which is a hell of an achievement for Australia, whose nation I think has football kind of higher than probably kangaroo fighting in terms of national sports. Like legit, I think half the lads still think they were watching Aussie rules when the World Cup was on. But to their credit, like the support is fantastic and they've been really enjoying themselves. Out of this group, though, 2 big shocks: Tunisia beating France, kind of putting a bit of pride in the team because they played really fucking well against Tunisia and Australia, particularly against Denmark, and they kind of deserved something out of that result. To be honest, they were very physical, very intense, and just didn't get in the end. But their win against France was for pride in the end. The biggest shock, though, has to be Denmark just completely falling to pieces. What do you make of that, guys, in terms of the team? They were very disappointing.
Oh, Denmark were shite, and not in particular because they were one of the teams I drew in my work World Cup draw, and
You jinxed them from the start.
I was like, oh, I think I'm fairly set. I think I'm fairly set here, you know. Well, no, like they fucking crashed out, and they were terrible. Denmark were fucking terrible. Like
Denmark were the worst team I've watched in this tournament, and I include Qatar in that.
that. Oh, they were fucking trout. I will say one thing. Well done to Australia for being the only team to qualify with a negative goal difference. Fair play.
Fair
play. I mean, it's in their nature to go down under, you know.
Hey. See what he did there. See what he did. That's that quality content.
That's koala content, that is.
But yeah, no, Tunisia beating France, although, well, the France B team.
B team, yeah.
Like they even switched out the fucking goalkeeper. I mean, I think the only reason they field I think you're saying in the WhatsApp, I think the only reason they field Varane and Kanate, is it Kanate?
Ibu, yeah. Kanate,
Kanate is because they wanted the centre backs to maintain the chemistry, to maintain that partnership, and that was the only reason those two were fielded, was so they could talk to each other more.
Can I also point out, by the way,
that's how serious they took the match. It's like, we got you two on the pitch because you two need to talk to each other more. Like,
but can I point out on one thing about that, by the way, that how much Kanate is saving that French defense from falling in on itself? Because even in that Tunisia game, he makes 11 interceptions, 11 clearances against Rafael, combined with Rafael Varane, who I think has had a terrible fucking World Cup so far. I think he's been really poor.
United effect.
Yeah, it pretty much is. But it also shows how fucking good Kanate is because he is in essence doing the same role he is with Van Dijk tactically, where like Van Dijk is the last line of defense. He doesn't have to make those runs anymore. Ibu is now the proverbial sweeper, if you want to call it that. And my God, he's good at it. It's like he is a specimen when it gets going. For someone who was a late addition, considering he was a replacement for Kim Sembe, I think, or I can't recall. Like the French team can't do without him now defensively, which I think is insane. But again, just a show of how good he actually is. So what do we actually think of the French team? Like, is this a powder keg waiting to happen? Is it waiting for a calamity? Is it enough for them to retain the World Cup? Like, I thought they did look quite good against Australia, but they were kind of allowed to play, if that makes sense. I think a lot of the big guns are kind of hiding their form at the minutes. If you ask me, like,
Deschamps needs a better plan than relying on Kylian Mbappe to do everything.
Yeah.
He occasionally plays in Giroud because if they don't, then they don't really win. Griezmann seems to have recovered some of his form, but he's not back to what would have been his best, and I don't think he'll hit it in this tournament ever. As we said, their defenders are so lacking in the cohesion and chemistry that they fielded the two first choice centre backs in a dead rubber in order to keep them together, to get them functioning better. And I'm just like, I'm like it's weird. He's playing a 3-5-2, but he's made some really curious omissions from this team. You were mentioning people there who think like he's not taking Jonathan Klaus from Marseille, the wing back, who's ideal for his 3-5-2 system. And you're going, hang on, what are you doing? And even though now, like, yeah, I know he's switched to a 4-man defense, but like there's very little natural fullbacks in this team. I just noticed that recently.
It's a very narrow team, very narrow.
Yeah, I mean, like there's only actually one proper fullback, isn't that Hernandez?
Pavard.
Pavard, yes. Yeah. Hernandez and Pavard.
No, it's not Pavard, it's Pavard.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there, Neil. I really think,
I'm sorry, by Hernandez, by fullback, I meant Theo Hernandez.
Theo Hernandez, yes.
He's got Lucas Hernandez there as well, but he operates more like a centre back.
Yeah.
Actually, I would say Pavard does as well. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not being. I don't think he's.
Well, Pavard plays centre back for Bayern Munich. So
yeah.
I think he's gone through a French 50 rated in the world and gone, right, I'll take the first 23 and throw them into us and hope they stick. Because if you're wanting to play a system like a 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, Yeah, of course you have to bring more than just the potential. Sometimes one or two. You can't just. It doesn't make any sense to me. I genuinely think there's an implosion around the quarterfinal stage for France. I
Yeah.
can't see them going all
Sure,
the way.
take a look at the Tunisia game. He played Camavinga at left back.
Yeah.
No, I understand it was a dead rubber, and he's just like, he was literally throwing like past it the wall,
Experimenting, essentially, yeah.
throwing past it the wall to see what sticks. But that like Camavinga at left back, well, all right, I'm fine. Like you have a science degree. Like when you come in up to an experiment, like you at least have a theory of how you think it's going to end, or
Yes, you
what
have a hypothesis, yeah.
what the potential benefit of this hypothesis, if it's true, how do I benefit? Right. Let's say Camavinga is a good left back. What's the benefit? You're not going to field him there in any other game.
Real Madrid are never going to field him there because he's a midfielder.
Yeah,
he's a centre mid.
He's a centre mid. Like, fucking field him there. Who gives a shit if he's good at left back? Who gives a fuck?
I was genuinely wanting to see the partnership of Tchouaméni and Camavinga.
Yeah.
Because they're obviously both at Real Madrid. So
and that's what Real Madrid want. That's what Real Madrid want. I'm like,
they want that potential future superstar midfield of them two, one going forward, one dropping back. They want that. But I don't know what he's doing. I genuinely don't know what he's doing.
I think the reason why the team hasn't imploded yet is because Benzema's gone. I'm like, am I the only person?
He's still in the squad, by the way. Like, so if he
does
still back.
Yeah, I know, but like, am I the only person that think that this team looks happier now that he's not there?
It's Giroud. Actually, I honestly would credit a lot of it to Giroud. Like, I think Giroud
it's difficult to get angry at somebody who's that fucking catastrophically gorgeous.
I never heard anyone described like that before. It's like, my God, it's a disaster how good looking he is.
But put it this way, he could be French president.
He'd be a good peacekeeper, in fairness. Just like
he get the vote. He get my vote anyway.
But the thing is, like, Giroud is only one of the I think again we're going back to national team coaches shuffling shit. Giroud is the only real nailed on up front bar Mbappe. So you've got Mbappe, Griezmann, Giroud, and then I tell you the only other two dead certs are like Varane and Tchouaméni.
And Loris, you'd say.
Well, not count. Sorry, I meant to say outfield.
Oh, outfield.
I meant to say outfield players. Apologies.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm like, who else is nailed on this team? And why are they nailed on? Like, who the fuck?
Like, if I were Deschamps, I'd be pretty much going right. Mbappe, Coman, Giroud. That's my front three.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my front three.
I
wouldn't even think twice.
No, and the midfield isn't. They're not clicking. He's constantly seeming like he seemingly cannot get over the fact that he doesn't have Blaise Matuidi anymore.
He's
somebody needs to wake him up to that fact because you fielded Rabiot there, didn't work. Guendouzi hasn't worked.
No,
really struggled against in Tunisia, and both of them are played in that kind of leftish midfield role.
Yeah.
I'd hate to say this, it looks like they're really missing Pogba. Pogba always played really well for France. Like,
Pogba is the key kind of ingredient for this French team.
The amount of people, like even Souness, who despises Pogba, looks at him when he plays for France and goes. In fact, he actually uses the fact that he plays brilliantly for France against them in an immense, really twisted way. He's like, why doesn't he do this all the time? Like what we were saying about Shaqiri. It was, if he played like this all the time, well, except that Pogba does play for elite tier teams.
Yes.
Where Shaqiri doesn't.
Are you saying Chicago Fire is an elite little team? Wow, that's snobbery. That's snobbery.
Sorry, that's my snobbery. Yeah, my snobbery.
That's snobbery.
There, yeah. You play for
fucking Ted Lasso over here in the corner.
So yeah, I think their midfield is. I think that's their main weak point, is that midfield, which is unbelievable when you consider the midfielders that they have.
Yeah.
No, in fact, actually, fuck it. It's not midfield that's going to be their weak point. It's the coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
The coach that continues to field Jordan Vertu.
Vertu is a number 10, by the way.
I don't know. I don't get the choice of bringing Jordan Vertu to the tournament because he doesn't bring anything to that French team at all.
No, definitely.
And also, like, the thing is, he's also in what is not Deschamps' kind of fault-ish, in that he's been let down. Like the Tunisia game was really a time for the squad players to kind of go to step up and go. And he basically, I would be amazed if when they were confirmed going through top of the group, that he didn't turn around to those squad players and go, "You're all playing in the next game, and you're playing for your spot. That's it. So I'd get my game face on if I were you motherfuckers. For the next couple of days, you're the starters, so you want to train like it." And they pretty much to a man let him down. Like Yusuf Fofana was terrible. It was awful against Tunisia.
Yeah.
Ousmane Dembele's biggest impact was throughout this entire World Cup. His biggest impact was during a press conference, like giving a really startled reaction when somebody pointed out to him that Japan had beaten Germany. And he's like, "What, really? Oh my God." That's the main thing I've noticed about him in this entire World Cup. And I'm going, what the fuck?
Do you know what I think it is down to? I genuinely think that the manager walks into a dressing room, right, with his coaches and assistants. This is how I imagine the French dressing room. He walks in, he turns to them, but he doesn't see them. There's nobody there. Points out his plan on a board. He gets his coaches to run through the plan. He kind of just dusts his hands off, puts on some hand sanitizer, and walks out the other door. Doesn't actually talk to the players. I genuinely think that's how the French dressing room is. This is what we're going to do. Thank you, boys. I will see you out there.
Like Martin O'Neill, would wait until the last minute to tell players that they're on the team or not. For some sort of weird motivational mind game.
Yeah, it does remind me of like the scene in The Simpsons where Homer's hired to design a car, and he strikes out all these fucking proper designers and engineers as the drawing, and then he sketches his kind of fucking thing, which looks like a bubble had his shit onto another bubble. And
isn't it mad?
And then he just pointed, like,
Isn't it mad that the Simpsons predicted Elon Musk before he was born? That works, isn't it? Yeah. So we move on to Group E then, and again, lads, this was fucking peak entertainment. Actually, the next 4 groups are all peak entertainment. So strap yourself in, lads. Right. So in a group that started off with Spain, Germany, Japan, and Costa Rica, the game. The group starts off with a 7-0 thrashing of Costa Rica by Spain. Like, it was an absolute demolition job, 100% demolition job. And then to cap that all off, Germany, who by a lot of people's kind of admission in German football have a lot of technical flaws, is the phrase I heard it being referred to, gets beaten by Japan, and shockingly by one very obvious and glaringly clear tactical switch that Germany didn't have an answer to. And they just couldn't peg it back. Then it gets even weirder when Japan lose to Costa Rica 1-0 in a game that they absolutely should have won, because had they won that, they were true home and hose. They wouldn't have had to pull out of the bag against Spain, but they completely bottled it. Combine that then with a draw between Spain and Germany, where Germany looked actually quite good against Spain. And then in the last game, you cap that off at Spain, thinking they're cruising to a win against Japan. Morata is scoring early, so they're passing the ball around, 80% possession, because it's a Spanish game after all. And then suddenly, 2 goals in 3 minutes, a goal on par with the fucking ghost goal by Luis Garcia, and Japan are through to the next round after beating Spain 2-1. They literally smash and grab, score 2 goals, park the bus for 40 minutes, and Spain could dink the ball all around, couldn't get past Japan. That was only one game in that group.
This was by far the most entertaining group of the World Cup. It was so good. And the best analogy I can make for Germany is Germany's known for their, precision and high performance vehicles. It's just down to the absolute reliability, and they performed like a Range Rover. Yeah,
that's a very good description, because when they needed something a bit more high performance, they were a kind of a one-track pony. They could only do certain things. And
they just broke down.
Hang on. Are you guys saying that the main issue with the German team was efficiency?
Well, efficiency and the fact that they haven't had a striker in 15 years.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'd say that is, because their expected goals and their expected goal difference was actually the highest in the tournament, not just in the group.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird because a lot of things went right for this German team and they still lost.
They still lost it. Yeah.
And I was going, this is bollocks. Like,
Mm.
like when they're coming out of this tournament and the only high point they can point to is Jamal Musiala. You go.
He doesn't have any kind of goals to his name. Like performance wise, he was superb, and he's kind of now being pinned as like kind of the hopes and dreams for the next
Yeah,
Germany team.
he has kind of people are saying like he's put the world on notice, and I was like, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I
Like,
don't think so.
he's definitely put himself in the shop window.
Yeah.
Like teams were going for him for quite a bit. I think he's a former Hale End fucking player. Like,
Yeah.
So there's that.
He gave me my fantasy football team name, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Chicken tikka Musiala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at you look at the goals that Germany were shipping, and you're going, oh my god, these are cheap ass fucking goals. This is incompetence. It is pure incompetence.
The Costa Rican goals in particular, like the second one is like legit like an own goal from Neuer. Like it's so fucking bizarre.
Oh, it's horrific. It's horrific.
Yeah.
It's so good at the same time though. You just love to see it.
You do actually love to see it. But even then, this is what I love about this final match day, because at one point in this night, Costa Rica were beating Germany, and that would have meant Costa Rica would have leapfrogged Spain. So we could have had a World Cup group where Spain and Germany were eliminated by Japan and Costa Rica, the same Costa Rican team that lost 7-0. So you get their revenge by winning their next two games, which I think is fucking peak World Cup. That is.
Oh yeah, you'd have gotten some fucking odd than that. For a long time, for a good portion of this, Costa Rica were ahead of Spain. Like Spain literally like they crept in on like by the skin of their fucking teeth. Like, but it's just when you look at Germany, I was like, it's hilarious. Like I don't see where the team goes from here, to be honest, because the new talent that's coming through, like Musiala aside, like, all right, who's the next world class defender outside of Rudiger?
Well, this is where they're having their issues.
And even Rudiger's coming into his prime. He's not like a uber young lad.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like,
and he had a horrendous World Cup, by the way. Like, I think he was terrible against Japan, and he was just bad against Costa Rica.
Yeah,
it was very bad competition.
They need a rebuild.
Yeah, they need a total rebuild, but with what players? Fulkrug up front?
No.
And they can't anyway because he's 29.
They just
the next time the next World Cup runs around, he's 33. Fuck that,
and he's not good enough for a World Cup as well. Like when you look at him as a player, like he's so
he did arrow in once, fucking deadly looking goal, but that's just about it. But then again, like one of the games, like they had Kimmich at right back. They only had two holding midfielders. You're going like, hang on, this is Germany. How did they not have the players to field in these positions? Like they took a 26-man squad. What the fuck?
They had no left back.
Right back.
They had no left back. They had no left back whatsoever. They had David Raum, and he was expected to play. He was their one dedicated fullback. That's what I'm saying.
He's the only.
What is it with these fucking coaches not picking not bringing more than one fullback? Is that actually a rule that FIFA have in now that we've all just missed? Like you need three.
No,
you can take 3 goalkeepers and 1 fullback.
No, Scotland stole all the left backs.
Scotland have all of them. Yeah. But I was just looking at that going like fucking hell. Like
so you're looking at a German team whose all their best players are midfielders and wingers. They have such soft center in the center in the central defense, because as I think Bastian Schweinsteiger described Nicolas Sule as a German Harry Maguire, and he was played a right back against Japan. That was doomed to fail. And Schlotterbeck, who was a better Lucas Klosterman, who was a right back before he switched to the center. There were better candidates there. I actually like a lot of it. I think is down to Thomas Frank not Thomas Frank, excuse me, Hansi Flick, picking the wrong team outright. I think he completely screwed up his team selection from the start, especially defensively.
Absolutely, and I think the only real names that I'm seeing in a future German team, and not I think you'll agree with me here, is Yusufa Moukoko and probably Lucas Nemecha.
Outside of Musiala,
and as well as Musiala, the only real names that, and they're all kind of forward-thinking players.
Yeah, and like I said, at least that fills the gap. Then what they need up front. I still think they have issues that like further back. Like they do need to still find actual tangible wing backs and stop just hoping Kimmich can fill 3 or 4 different positions, because that's kind of what they relied on. They were hoping, okay, well, we can put Kimmich in this position in this game, then we can play someone else at number 6, and we can play this
Yeah,
guy at number 11, and just keep shuffling.
They're
Like,
mistaking Kimmich for Katie McCabe. It was like,
yeah,
no,
exactly. Yeah.
you can't. He's not going to be able to do that.
No,
You know, she can
very
do
few
it.
people can do Katie McCabe.
She can do it. He cannot. He absolutely fucking cannot.
Yes. Yeah. So that was an E for entertainment in that one there. But of course, Spain then delightfully dodged a date with Croatia because they topped Group F. See what I did there, lads? Well, in actuality, you see, they do dodge that date with Croatia because now Japan have Croatia because they finished second in that group. Again,
Japan have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
They have been. I mean, I think I have a theory about this, and I've been thinking about this for the whole tournament. The differences between the European sides and the more global sides. The European sides are a collection of players who play in lots of different top leagues and are very rarely in the same group, same camp.
Yeah.
Japan, for example, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 players,
they're star players.
They have a cluster in the Bundesliga. No, South Korea. Yeah. They have mostly in the J1 league, with 1 or 2 maybe venturing out, like Dyson Maeda plays for Celtic, etc. But
there's some snobbery there where they don't pick the Celtic players.
They pick one. They pick one.
Who was it? Furuhashi, is it?
Kyogo Furuhashi was left at home. It was Dyson Maeda they brought along.
Ah, it was Maeda. Fucking wrong.
But I think the fact that all of these guys play in the same league, they play in or around, they're in their own country, they play in the same cup competitions, see each other an awful lot more. There's more cohesion in these nations that have gotten through. For example, touch on Morocco when we get there.
But, because a lot of the core players play for Wydad Casablanca. So
and these nations have a togetherness, and they're so intertwined, and the culture is bigged up and respected a lot more among the players and among the manager. That it's really shown in this World Cup that, hold on, the cohesion is a big deal here in this World Cup. Japan, Morocco, Tunisia beating France. You saw the reaction from Tunisia beating France. You heard the noise in the stadium. If it doesn't mean as much to these European nations, then obviously these guys are going to come in and say, no, we have more heart, we have more cohesion, we have more desire to want it, and they're going to go ahead and get it. I think Germany are the biggest victim of that.
Like, you could say maybe they're being preoccupied with the fact that they'd rather be at home having their Christmas break rather than playing the World Cup in a country they don't like.
Whereas other countries are coming in all guns blazing, like Japan and Morocco, and saying, no, this is our chance. We're not here every year like Germany or France or these big teams who are there all the time. These guys are looking at it as, we may not be there in 4 years. We need to make the most of it now, and I think that's caught the European sides off guard. I really think it has.
No, but I think that's very good analysis, and I think it's definitely very true in a lot of other groups where teams that you would have expected as perennial, like round of 16 picks, got mugged off and rightfully mugged off, because they didn't put the effort in. They kind of took a few games for granted, and they got upset. Like, you could say Argentina took the Saudi Arabia game for granted almost, and then they lost the game 2-1. They had to put their standards up again, They
learned big time from that game.
Yeah, 100%. So we go to Group F then, and in a group that Croatia, Belgium, and Canada existed in, it was Morocco who topped the whole lot. And quite honestly, lads, you could make an argument that Morocco have been the best performer so far. They played the best football in certain aspects. Again, started off quite enough with the 0-0 draw against Croatia, but they really came to life against Belgium. 100% came to life. And again, a lot of it is down to now having almost access to some of their best players. Like, Morocco kind of have a Scottish issue, shall we say, of their 2 best players being fullbacks. But the beauty is that Hakimi and Mazraoui can both play either side. They don't necessarily have to play the same position.
Niall will remember the days of Marwan Shaman.
And I wish
that's a far cry from now Ziyech and Nesri and it's a good team. There's no surprise that they've done well, and then
Ziyech is great for them.
Yeah, he's only back in the squad as well.
Yeah,
Ziyech manager. Yeah,
Ziyech didn't fit the system at Chelsea. He wasn't used probably. It's like the Kevin De Bruyne situation at Chelsea. They didn't utilize him properly, and they went on to become, Man City's main man. But you look at the teams, you look at the players that are in there: Mazraoui, Buffal, Ziyech, Amrabat. Everyone knows these players. Everyone knows. I mean, Gerd plays for Aston Villa, Hakimi, Romain Saiss. They have a team of players that if you put their names out there, somebody will know who they are.
Yeah.
For every country has their golden era of players. And I think Morocco are right smack bang in the middle of that.
Yep, very true. And they all came to life.
Morocco have a huge kind of football. Like people are saying, "Oh, where did Morocco come from?" Morocco have a huge footballing culture.
Absolutely.
Like the one resounding kind of resonant note throughout this entire World Cup. When people say, "Oh, well, it's brilliant to have it in the Middle East country," a Middle East country is hosting the World Cup, and everybody's like, if you wanted a Middle East country to host the World Cup and really make it shine, really give you the best World Cup possible in the Middle East, you should have had it in Morocco.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Could you imagine the World Cup in Casablanca? Like
they would have had it. They would have had a fucking field. They were like, this would have been immense. Whereas now it's just this damn squib of a game.
And Ryanair flighter.
And Ryanair flighter, yeah.
So cheap flights is a possibility for the World Cup 2030 something in Morocco.
20, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no to like what would be Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. That strip of that wouldn't be a bad World Cup at all.
A North African World Cup kind of shared World Cup would actually be pretty decent as long as they don't go into Libya.
Yeah. You kind of stop at that part, like
you kind of deviate away. You get
swing a hard left. Swing a hard left at Libya, please. Yeah, go over it. But also, I think other than Morocco topping this group, I think the other major talking point is what the fuck is up with Belgium?
Keep it up with the Belgians.
Woo! They're fucking.
I think what's happened is that they've all got fucking sick of each other. I think that's what's happened.
They fucking hate each other. They fucking hate each other. Like,
and I love it.
Oh no, I'm all here for it. Like, hook it to my fucking veins.
Like I have to say, like this Belgian side is lucky to have scored 4 points in this competition.
They were incredibly lucky.
They should not have won the game against Canada.
Yeah,
quite honestly, if Croatia gave a shit, they should have beaten them as well. Like
they were lucky against Canada. They were well beaten by Morocco. I mean, they were taunted. Their leg, the mojo's gone, man. Like it's absolutely terrible. This team needs to be broken up. They need to rebuild. I was about to say they need to rebuild with a new coach, but they do actually need to get a new coach because Martinez has stepped down.
Yeah, and he's also the technical director, so he essentially fired himself.
Yes, exactly.
Best thing to do, smartest thing to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Hope he took his mirror with him. But fucking the thing is, like, holy shit! Like this was for close to a decade. This Belgian team has been this kind of like great, like the great white shark in Jaws, under the surface, ready to strike, eating fucking boats left, right, and center. They won fuck all in that time. This entire golden generation has been completely spaffed up the wall. They've wasted countless amounts of talent. They've wasted some of the most talented players ever to exist. Right? They've wasted both Hazards.
Both Hazards, both Lukaku's,
both
Lukaku.
They've destroyed the dream of any promising centre back ever getting into the team for 15 years.
Fucking hell. They're still fielding Vertonghen and all their viral. That's like Southgate still picking like Cahill and fucking
Terry Butcher.
Am I right? Am I right in saying that Alderweireld played for Tottenham while Bale was still there?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah,
it was signed as he was a year before they had the big fucking big Bale spend. Vertonghen was one of the Bale refugees, if you want to call it that.
So like that's how long he's been there. I mean, I feel bad for every Belgian under 21, every Belgian who's declared for the country and said, I want to play centre back. And you're like, well.
But it's not as if they don't have them. I'm like, they're bringing some of them. I'm like, they've got that Wout Faes guy, the guy that Leicester just bought. I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name. He's got
the right, Wout Faes, yeah.
Wout Faes. And like, they gave him the number 4. Like so that is your de facto centre back number. Don't play him. I was like, why did you give him that number? Now I know I'm a big stickler for proper squad numbers. Like I get into this a lot on the fucking podcast. It fucking grinds my gears. But it's like, there's no point in doing that if you're not gonna. I was just like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it's
I
terrible.
think they just really just like they just kept the same team for the upwards of 12 years and just hoped beyond hope that it was going to be the last throw of the dice. But this isn't the same thing of like a brave gamble, like say in 28 in Russia, let's say, where like this it was adequately their best chance to win it, and they came up short in one or two games. This was like fucking seal the deal Gill on his last shilling before he gets turfed out of his apartment.
Yeah,
That's how
you gotta
shabby
sell
this
it
team
before it
looked.
rusts up. It'll rust up on you just like that.
If
Yeah.
I mean, if you turn around and go, right, in this squad, you have Simon Mignolet, right? Toby Alderweireld, Jan Vertonghen, and Michi Batshuayi. I would well and truly underneath that put that Jumanji meme of what year is it?
And bear in mind, the
Because
only
you
person
don't
to
know.
score in that team was Michi Batshuayi. He was their best player.
Yes, that's the point. Like, this is
Mental.
it's not 2016.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, like, the team selection itself is just horrific. Like Axel Witsel, like what's he doing?
Dreadful.
Like a
Dreadful
man who
player.
was deemed surplus at Dortmund and sold. When was the last time Hazard started for Real? Go back to Dortmund. Like younger Hazard is regularly on the bench. I'm like, I know he was killing it a couple of years back, but he's not.
He had a run of form and then he joined Dortmund.
Yeah, I'm like,
He was like the Ralph Schumacher of the Hazards.
yeah,
That's a very good comparison, yeah.
and it's just like it's absolutely crazy. Like I don't. In all fairness, I Belgians would be lucky. No, not Belgians. Canadians would be looking at the Belgian team crashing out and going, "Lads, we really should have gotten something against these guys. These guys are fucking dog shite."
And then the fucking cherry on top was Romelu Lukaku. Like guys, I've never seen a player just so unable to play football again. Like legit, when you see like an old boxer out for an exhibition match, kind of way, it's like, and he's just his belly is out of his trunks, and he's just like stumbling. He's like, oh Jesus, get him out of the ring before he does himself an injury. That's
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. Like this was that was that kind of energy with
At least
Lukaku.
Ric Flair could still go woo. Can't take that away from him. Why, as you fucking Philistines might. All right, can't take woo away from him.
But even then,
he apparently wants into the Rumble. Sorry to
yeah. Oh, Lukaku wants into the Rumble. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
No, Ric Flair wants into the Rumble. He's out in the media, trying to get his spot.
Yeah, but to be fair, like if he plays his card right, he might be able to get into his Belgian team because he couldn't get any fucking older. So, but yeah, like I remember I was watching this game, the Croatian Belgian game, and I'm fairly sure Lukaku missed 4 chances from 5 yards or less.
Oh no, yeah, like he missed. Yeah, there was one where he was inside the 6-yard box.
Yeah,
and the ball just comes in and he skies it, and I was like, I'd have been upset with my 1-year-old son if he'd have missed that. Like, I really
but they're actually hard. They're harder to miss.
Yeah,
like,
I would have been disappointed.
Incredible.
I'd have been like, look, I know he's only one, but when you're inside the 5-yard box, when you're inside the 6-yard box with the ball, you got to do better. You're doing something. Like, you have to at least get like. It was hilarious. Any one of the, and I wouldn't even mind. It's not as if, oh well, he was trying to go top corner. He skied it because he was trying to go top corner because he had 2 guys in front of him, or he had a defender up his hoop, or something like that. There was no mitigating circumstance whatsoever. There were four attempts, that if any of them were on target at any point, anywhere in the goal, they were in. Because in particular, the one of these 5 yards out, the goalkeeper is like. The ball's actually gone past. The goalkeeper's made a fucking howler. Goalkeeper, what we call ball watching. He's watching the ball come in and he's completely misjudged the flight of it. And I don't know what he's thinking. There's nobody on the back post. And except Lukaku. Sorry, Lukaku's on the back post, which isn't good because he plays with the other team. And they're going like, oh, he's got the score. Oh my God, he's missed that. That's actually impressively bad.
But even the fumble at 3 yards, and it's just like the Croatian player has like a couple of seconds to actually even clear it out. Like there's no one on the pressure.
Costa Rica could have scored. That?
Costa Rica scored better goals than Belgium did. Like proper, like the one against Japan was a screamer. It was a fucking beautiful goal. But like Like I think it's just desserts for a team that's just ultimately gone too far, too long in the tooth. No contingency plan. This would have been a great World Cup to bleed in some of the players. Like I think a lot of people will look at the team selection for Martinez and said he should have been braver. He should have said goodbye to the likes of Vertonghen, particularly like Witzel. You could have put in Hans Vanaken in there instead. You could have brought in Trossard was a good option. In fairness, you couldn't deny him his form at Brighton. But what was Charles de Calais, who had a brilliant campaign for Club Bruges? You
Hasn't
have
Carrasco
Buffet's.
been playing well?
Carrasco's he's been all right. Like I mean, it's a squad player for Atletico is perhaps better than what they have. But Jeremy Doku, who's playing for Rennes at the moment,
Yeah.
like the League One up. So there were options there. He just chose not to use them. He preferred to keep to the experience because I don't know. I think very much a question of loyalty again, where like he feels like he needed to give this generation another chance, whereas he should have been a lot more ruthless. And again, this kind of speaks to his club managing days as well, where let's face it, he wasn't brave enough to make the big calls, especially when Wigan were starting to decline. And he just should have decided there and then, this is the end, let's bleed in the new players and make a good stick of it. I don't know if it would have made a difference.
Tielemans doesn't get into this squad, the starting 11 often.
I don't think Tielemans plays well for this country. Like that's the thing. Like I think like Tielemans is one of those frustrating players where like when you see him for Leicester, he'll do something precocious. He's brilliant, but then his work rate in certain aspects is quite poor, and that especially in a knife edge team like this, you need players who properly go into tackles. And Tielemans
I
going to be
would
quite
have thought he'd have given. I mean, because they'd fuck all through the middle, and I was like, at the very, very, very least, Tielemans gives you.
I say he would have been better than Witzel, 100%. Yes.
Oh yeah, no,
absolutely, yes, 100%.
We're not setting the bar too high there, now.
No, but it's somebody. But see, but you know when you were talking about stats, like he never replaced Fellaini.
No, yeah, Tielemans gives you quality through the middle at the very quality ball through the middle at the very least. You know, I mean,
yeah.
And I was just baffled. Laughing at Courtois, like endlessly laughing at Courtois for conceding the same goal twice in the one match. I was like, literally exact same fucking goal twice.
Ludicrous.
Lads, what's happened to the guy at the near post for freeze? Come on. The fuck? Have they stopped doing that? Is actually now a thing that no longer happens? The guy at the near post for fucking free kicks coming in. Because like I remember always saying it out when I was a child, when I was
cover the front post. Cover the front post.
Cover the fucking front post. Because I mean, he got away with the first one because your man was slightly offside and in his eye line. Cool, right? It's marginal, but I can see why, and I agree with it. But the second they conceded again, literally the exact same fucking goal again, and I'm going, the ball went under you, you fucking dope. Like,
So we also have a bone to pick with Janelle because throughout all of our World Cup previews, you tip Canada, and on paper they crash out of the tournament with no points to their name. Which, like, if you do top trumps here, it gives them the same record as Qatar.
Yeah, they one of two teams to crash out with 0 points.
Yes.
Admittedly, they did score twice as many goals as Qatar did, which is only good until you realize that Qatar scored 1 goal.
Yes. Now, in fairness to Canada, like I know we tipped them very well, and quite honestly, their like result, their conclusion does not match their actual efforts. I genuinely think they were a lot better than their competitive record says here.
It's the first time they've scored at a World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Yeah.
It's the first time they've scored at a World Cup. And Neil, how does it feel to have all your credibility ripped away from you?
Man, I've been getting the text messages. My phone was blowing up. My phone was fucking blowing up. People are like, I sold so many people on Canada, not just the poor fuckers who on this podcast.
Listen, they weren't bad. I think it's very very harsh of them to be.
I mean, against Canada, they got everything but the points. So I suppose they should take pride in somewhat of their achievements. I suppose like they crashed out because naivety. You know, they made just some rookie errors. That's okay because they were rookies.
I'm looking forward to this team in 4 years' time, though. I think as a host nation, this is a different outfit because now they do need to they've had to do in that kind of like their native duty and got like Atiba Hutchinson to the World Cup. So now he can leave. He can die happy now, kind of way, and get better goalkeepers in. let's see if we can develop a few players, usually MLS or otherwise. Like I mean, because there's a Canadian contingency in Club Bruges who are flying it right now. Like
It's the reason
Tajon
it's the reason they've had
Buchanan's
such a good
brilliant. I love watching him
Champions
play.
League campaign. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
100%.
So like there's certainly players there. Like I would say for Canada, like it feels like a bitter taste in the mouth, but this is the start. Like this is the start of a good team. And once they kind of get their shit together, and I do hope they keep with the coach as well, because I think he learned a lot as well from his aspect, because as I said, he kind of built this Canadian outfit from the ground up, both women and men's, and that should be celebrated for a start. But like legit, like the way he played, it was brave, but as you said, Neil, as well, on the opposite side of the coin was naive. So you look at it that way. The last touch in this group then is Croatia, who I'm not going to lie, lads, was a lot better than I thought they'd be. Look,
Yeah, they
I was
annoyed me.
worried for Croatia a little bit.
Croatia were the kind of wily veteran,
Yeah.
quite almost literally when you consider their fucking midfield.
Mm.
They kind of wily veteran. I'm a lot of this team are still the same ones that lost the final in the last World Cup.
Yes.
So I
The
mean,
only difference actually is Guardiol in the in the defense. Like he's been absolutely fantastic. Like he will put in a hero's performance against Belgium.
Yeah,
Like
it's been slightly annoying, in the sense that you just, oh, for God's sake, stop being this good. Do you know, type of way? Because
you're 20. Go. Like have a
you
pint
know,
or something. Like stop being so
Mo-
good.
Modric should be like managing a team now. You know, he shouldn't be playing still, but he's still like performing at a top level. Like you're still getting the
Yeah.
Modric that was at Real Madrid all these years ago as well. Like it's just not annoying in a bad way. It was just like, oh, this is annoying. You're not supposed to be this good. Go away with it. Like,
Yeah, you're supposed to be
absolutely.
the nostalgia act. Stop being good.
That's the
Like,
thing.
yeah.
Like, they've done a bad thing in that they've hinged their entire team on like a classy midfield, but it's worked out for them because wow, is that a classy ass midfield?
Yeah.
They can literally run games just by themselves. You know, fucking Modric, Brozovic as well. Kovacic, you know, and they can literally just go right, lads. Everybody chill. We got this.
Perisic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a new look defense, which is looking good.
Yeah, Dejan Lovren, a bit of an enigma. I mean, I've all but forgotten about him, to be honest with you.
He's actually getting a lot of stick at home because he still plays for his NSA Speedberg by choice.
Yeah.
And he's also famously anti-vax and the conspiracy theorist. So everyone in Croatia is kind of like treating him as the mad uncle that we try not to pay attention to over Christmas.
Yeah.
Because he's going to say some mad shit on Facebook and we don't really want to give him the attention.
Yeah, just weird. It's just he's a bit mad, but they've done a good thing in that they've kept around a lot of like aging talent for the fact that like they're doing what Japan did. So Japan don't call it like a revolution or replacement. They call it something like I think it's generational fusion.
Yeah,
for a weird kind of thing where they keep a lot of their older players. They pay a lot of respect to the guys who came before and actually did it really well, and they keep them in as squad players to help build up the younger players and go.
That's right, because like Demagoy Vida is
though, yeah,
as well. Yeah,
that's part of their culture, though, isn't it?
Yeah, Cuisine it's called. Incremental short steps of improvement, and it's worked. I mean, like, with Croatia, it's worked so well with the defense. They've got Stanisic, who's playing for Bayern, and he's brilliant.
Sosa playing for Stuttgart.
Sosa's brilliant. Really good player.
We've mentioned Gvardiol.
Juranovic.
Yeah.
Who plays for Celtic.
Yeah, plays for Celtic. So I'm like, they don't even have the SPL snobbery that Japan seemingly has.
They're up to all leagues, lads.
I mean, it's just mad to think that Celtic have 2 players in the last 16 of the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
More than Liverpool, I think, if you exclude the fucking big teams, like the one that matters, Darwin Núñez is out. So I mean, the rest of it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
and the thing about it is, like, you know, this Croatian team, they succeeded. Why? Well, one of the main reasons why is they brought actual proper fullbacks.
Yeah.
It's not fucking rocket science, people.
By the way, did I miss the Uruguay crying?
Yeah.
I want that Suarez poster painted as a mural across my wall.
Literally, one of the people in our WhatsApp group literally did ping the gif of Barney rolling back into my veins under that picture.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. Actually, speaking of hilarious misses, going back a bit, lots of French viewers actually missed the France end of the match because as soon as the final goal, as soon as Griezmann's ball crossed the line, the main channel in France showing the game cut off and started playing some kind of drama afterwards that was meant to come on after. So lots of French viewers just switched off, assuming that they'd got the
Rescue the
draw.
game. Yeah.
And the channel had to kind of suspend the drama, have a presenter go back on and go, actually, really sorry, but it was ruled out because the ref didn't blow up for full time. He blew up because he was going to the monitor. So yeah, that's a great one. But
Fantastic.
delighted with Morocco going through. Happy with Croatia, laughing at Belgium, and probably will be.
For quite some time. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Group G then was not as dramatic in the end, but it actually is recent in the memory as it just ended today. Brazil do progress as the top of the group, which was not really a surprise, lads, in fairness, although again they did lose their last game against Cameroon in wonderful fashion, which we'll get to momentarily. The group kind of was set up as a bit of a shootout between Switzerland and Serbia, and while it technically was in the end, it didn't tell the full story. Because Switzerland did start off quite well against Cameroon. Ironically enough, Breland Bolo scoring against his native country was a bit of a deep cut there, especially for his parents. As for Brazil and Serbia, probably one of the better games I recall from the first 4A games, and the second goal from Carlson, as much as I despise the man, nice goal. I'm not going to give you any more credit than that.
This group was, I think Serbia really did get let off because
I think this is probably the most fun group. Like this was the most open group.
Like when you look at Serbia, so much has gone wrong for other teams. Serbia getting just the 1 point and a negative goal, that just kind of just floats under that,
a little
radar.
bit, yeah.
So what? Nobody's looking at us. Let's just bow out gracefully, and we'll kind of.
I'll get me coach.
Stage left.
Yes.
Stage left. Off you go.
Is there such thing as a Serbian goodbye?
If there is, I don't want to know it. I can't imagine that'll be, very
pleasant. Yeah.
Pleasant. But I mean, Cameroon have always been a side that I've adored because the African football culture is just so flamboyant and vibrant. It's similar to your Brazilian carnival style, flamboyancy, stuff like that. But Cameroon's tribute to Papa Bouba Diop was really, really good. It was really nice. It was a brilliant touch. But they're one of these sides that kind of bow out proudly. We didn't get through, but we went down absolutely fighting.
The game we just had there was the epitome of a blaze of glory. Yeah, like Cameroon, do actually beat Brazil 1-0. Vincent Aboubakar, who has this weird fucking beef with Mo Salah, and Mo Salah doesn't even know who he is. He picks an enemy and just goes with it. It's like, yeah, well, you do you.
Just threw a dart at a table filled with football players who just happened to land on Mo Salah's head. He's like, that's the cunt.
He's just there. It's like, hang on. You got the wrong one. You actually hate Phil Jagielka instead. Well, yeah, I haven't even heard of him. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. And the brilliant, getting himself sent off for his own celebration.
Magical. I think that's his last World Cup as well. So literally, that's just the way he wanted to end his career. Scores a winner against Brazil, gets sent off. Even the referee just goes, good job. That's a pretty good goal.
It's his last World Cup. I mean, he's 30 at the minute. I doubt he'll be there at 34, but he's always been this shithouse of a player. I remember him with Porto in the Champions League.
That's right. Yes.
And he was always just this absolute, almost just a prick you love.
Yeah. Diego Costa-esque.
Yeah. He just swan about. He would get a red card and almost celebrate being sent off.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Well, I
am the prick.
He did not give a single fuck about getting red card. He did not one solitary fuck. There was not a trace of fuck given about that red card. I was
I
half
mean,
expecting him to ask the ref here, can I have that?
can I have that?
Not even a jersey
This
swap. Like,
jersey
here,
change. Can I have that card?
You can have my jersey. Give me my
And
fucking
he has the
card.
card framed, signed by the referee above his mantle. You know what I mean? Sent off in the World
With his
Cup
name on it.
2022. He's had 35 goals for Cameroon, and I think he's been a good servant to the country. He's always given everything, but he put them out the way they wanted to go out.
Yeah, like they were a breathless team to watch. In fairness, especially the 3-3 against Serbia in the middle. They go, what a fucking game, lads! Like honestly, like,
amazing game.
Brilliant game. Has to be the pick of the game so far from the. In fairness, Serbia had a count for both of them because the game tonight now against Switzerland was a cracker, and then it kind of fizzled out and started becoming a bit of a handbags towards the end. It had everything.
Always going to do that. I'm like, I was waiting for the handbags, but then again, Serbian versus a Swiss team that have a solid contingent of Kosovan people of Kosovan Albanian descent. There was never any could have been handbags, but handbags with a tremendous amount of buckles in them.
Yes.
Like we all remember Yugoslavia.
We all remember that. In particular, like Serbia will be investigated by FIFA for hanging a flag with no surrender in their dressing room.
Yeah, but, like who do they think they are? Rangers?
Yeah, but like I think it's more so like that the picture of Serbia on it has Kosovo included as part of Serbia. Because they don't recognize it as a state. They don't recognize
it's kind of like Papua New Guinea. They just don't stop fighting.
Nah.
It's just a constant barrage of political violence that'll never die down. It's like Northern Ireland. Even if Ireland gets unified, it'll still all kick off. There is no going backwards. And Serbia is one of those countries where you'll always have the 50-50 of pro for Serbia in the war, pro not so much Serbia in the war in the mid-90s. So it'll always have that kind of.
Yeah, but I think Serbia can be quite disappointed crashing out.
Yeah, like it doesn't reflect their performances, but it's just like losing the game. Like essentially, the game against Cameroon was almost like a loss because they had been 3-1 up. They could have defended it better, but they just lost it because of, ironically, because of Abubakar coming on and just wrecking shit in the Serbian defense. And you'd expect the Serbian defense to be better.
But that was the main. That was
lad, you know?
Yeah, that was their main weakness coming into this.
Yeah, in the end, yeah. The goalkeeper too.
Yeah, I mean, like one. The other Milinkovic Savic. He's like it's a defense that's like one mistake away from a full blown collapse.
Yeah,
you know, like it doesn't seem that there's no rigidity or solidity there at all. Even though they have like players like Pavlovic who plays for Salzburg, you know, and like he's been like they've been touting him as like the new Vidic. Like, don't see it, lads.
I genuinely think this was a case of we've got everything up front and in the wide areas, but anything in or around after that kind of just is a heap of shite.
Yeah, very top heavy team.
I mean, Kostic, Juventus, Milinkovic, Savic, you know, in Serie A, Mitrovic in the Premier League, Tadic at Ajax, Zivkovic as well, great player. Anything kind of around that, no.
You're counting the other 4 players? No, we don't. No,
but it's once you get past that midfield and that front line, you're like, oh, this is easy almost. You know what I mean? It's there is no Vidic anymore. There is no hardcore bruiser defense.
It's like going up against the gladiators, and the last like obstacle is the fucking referee. Yeah, that little wee Scottish lad just blows in your ear like.
And that's what they're missing. They're missing that bruiser of a defense. I mean, they just don't have it. They haven't had it since Nemanja Vidic played for them.
Yeah, like Pavlovic might be it, but he's not that now.
No,
not at this point anyway. And obviously they go out from there. Like I mean, Switzerland, I think were quite good value for their games as well. Like I think they like the Switzerland game, obviously, or the game against Brazil, they kind of kept quite tight. And I think they kind of showed a bit more their kind of their attacking prowess against Serbia. I still think there's more in this team. Like it's still the same team that I saw in the last World Cup. Like, it hasn't really changed that much, except for Breland Bolo finally getting the nod to be in the front line. Because remember, the last time I can't remember who they played up front. The last time I think it was Seferovic. And I just kept getting annoyed looking at him going, you're such a bad striker. It annoys the fuck out of me you're in this team. When then Breland Bolo was there. That being said, it's kind of the same with me as well, because I think Okafor could be a big change difference in this Swiss side as well, and he's not getting the nod yet. But they are playing grand in a sense. Like, you can't say they're not. And we
No,
should see when it comes to the next round, you know?
yeah, they're playing solid. You mentioned there that it's pretty much the same team as played in the last World Cup. It's
Mm.
funny because lots of this team are all the same team that won the under-17 World Cup in 2009. I think that's the reason why.
Generation of Swiss players, yeah.
That's the reason why
Yeah.
Sarafaric is still there. He's actually scored. He scored a goal that won them that title.
Ah,
Um,
that explains it. So
that's all. That's the core of that team. That's that rock. That's that kind of spine. And they've just got other players like Mbolo and Akanji as well. He's really come into it.
yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So everybody's hit a lot of form, and it's just they've been really good. They've been brumming along nicely. Happy to fly kind of under the radar, not blowing people away.
Yeah, they've been. I think they've been very underrated at this tournament as far as results go and
I
performance.
kind of prefer that. If I were in that position, I would very much prefer people.
Oh yeah.
You know, I the last thing I would want is for people to start bombarding my incredibly weak goalkeeper lineup, because they took 4 of them.
Yes.
Yeah, they did actually.
Yeah, they took 4 goalkeepers and only 2 fullbacks. So again,
there's a trend here.
there's a trend here. Did we must have missed a meeting, lads, about like fullbacks?
I don't think it was a meeting. Everyone just decided that fullbacks
no,
last year.
No, a memo was circulated and we were left off the CC list. There was something and I was like, right, fullbacks are out, lads. We don't want them. Don't.
Yeah, the trend is there is no fullbacks. We have wingers and centre halves. We do not have fullbacks anymore.
We do not.
What we do is we no longer play an even game. The symmetry is dead. Yeah. Symmetry is dead.
Haven't you all watched Pep Guardiola?
I try not to.
They're good. They're doing really well. Solid midfield. And they've got really good young players coming through. So yeah, I'm like they're happy out.
Yeah, absolutely. Group H then ends with what I can describe. I describe this group as the plot twist group. Because literally, like, this is like the tail end of a soap opera. This is right. So, it started off with a damn squib. To be honest, with Uruguay and South Korea 0-0 draw. So disappointed in Uruguay this tournament.
Uruguay. Yeah, sorry. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will discuss. And then like Ghana, the beautiful, like, a failure is the wrong word to use here for Ghana, but the beautiful failure of Ghana. Like, it looked like the game against Portugal, they obviously lose, but the scoreline tells the difference better. Like a fucking very soft penalty scored by Ronaldo, and then Ghana just got angry. It's just like 1-2.
Andre Ayew's substitution said how angry they were in that game.
Yes, very much so. But they were great. I love watching Ghana play this year. Like, I really, really loved them. Mohamed Kudus, I think, is just a fucking fantastic player. He was so good. He was so good. Yeah, specimen. But yeah, like, he was great even in that Portugal game. He deserved a goal himself. If not, he set up 2 anyway, so it was all the one. But then we got to the next group stage, and it was South Korea who said, like, we're still here. And they gave Ghana a fantastic game as well. Again, Kudus getting them through there. Cho Ji-sung, who is now the new sweetheart of South Korea, and I mean that literally, folks, by the way, because he has had to put his phone away because he keeps getting so many marriage proposals on them from Korean fans. He at the start of the tournament, he had 20,000 Instagram followers. He's now at the moment 1.6 million. So he's well fancied in one sense. But
he was the KFA Cup MVP this season, the K-League MVP.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's well primed for a move to mainland Europe, really. And bear in mind, we should point out here, by the way, this is a South Korea team who has not had Heung-min Son in the team at all. Like, he's played 6 minutes so far in the group stages. That's all he's had. Like, this is not the final form of the Korean team at all. So the fact that
did he not start against Portugal?
Yeah, I think he's played in every game.
I think he started in Portugal. Yeah, I think he started Portugal, but he wasn't there for the other 2 games. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did start the Portugal game. You're right. but like I said, like they haven't. He wasn't relying on them in that sense. It was just the players that kind of going to the front, the forefront. So then Portugal beat Uruguay, which kind of really cemented Uruguay's hopes and dreams here at this point. The worst VAR call in my memory was in this game with a handball on your on your landing arm. Like you can't. I could go on about it, but fucking hell, like it just scrap the whole thing. It's terrible. Um, and then we get the plot twist. This is where it gets exciting because we have our finale. Uruguay are 2-up against Ghana. They're cruising. They've got this covered. Portugal are 1-0 up against South Korea. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Suarez is being a shithouse. Darwin Núñez is kicking people's shins off. It's fucking great. Everyone's having a great time. And then South Korea equalize. And then Hwang Hee-chan scores a winner for South Korea against Portugal, and they knock out Uruguay. Ghana start celebrating because they're taking Luis Suarez with them to the fucking shadow realm. It's beautiful stuff. What a fucking twist. You could not write better drama. Suarez, Núñez, they're all crying on the bench. Fucking mwah. Beautiful stuff.
It was peak Coronation Street.
It really was.
Absolutely.
This
And
is so
Uruguay's 2 goals coming from a player that should not have made it past the first half, should have easily been sent off for a fucking horrible stamp on another player. And it's kind of like, this is so fucking great. Like, I love this drama.
It's like the bad guy getting his comeuppance in the end. Like, because Uruguay are the notorious shithouses of the World Cup.
Uruguay
They have me spitting at the television.
Oh yeah,
I mean, my own television,
They were pitiful. They were embarrassing. They're just
so disappointing.
Pathetic. Just a pathetic side. Luis Suarez crying on the bench for me. That just epitomized their World Cup camp.
Yeah,
pitiful.
I mean, like the time-wasting substitution by Ghana in the 98th minute when they knew that they'd completely fucked was. I was like,
that's their dramatic revenge. Yeah,
that's their Game of Thrones moment. The Lady Olenna moment. Tell Luis Suarez it was me. I want them to know it was me.
But like that was the beauty of it. Like Uruguay, I think they will have to look at the way they played, as in tactically. I think they were just so fucking conservative. And the two key issues they had was their front line. They just were not brave enough to leave it to Núñez. Now I know his position, his best position is left of the main striker. I understand that, but they couldn't make a decision whether Suarez or Cavani should be up front. And I think that kind of like that quagmire of not figuring out what the best team was really fucked up Uruguay in the end. Because as you said, like De Aresca, who was by far their best player, only really came into the game towards the end of the Portugal match, where they were actually playing quite well. But that was too little too late. Valverde and Bentancur were playing great in the Uruguayan midfield, but they had no one to pass to. Suarez was too slow. Cavani was nowhere near. And Darwin was making mindless runs, which is kind of his thing at the minute. He's going through a phase. And like honestly, like it just was so disjointed when it shouldn't have been. On paper it would have made sense.
It was really weird. I mean, like I thought the biggest thing, I thought like Uruguay were going to fall down. I thought they had like easily the best midfield out of most of the teams in the tournament. And
Very strong midfield, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought like they had like they just fucking firepower up front. I thought they were going to fall down via the defense.
Yeah, with Godin, like 50-year-old Godin in defense, like yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but also they've got other players that just aren't really playing that well. I'm like, Araujo, Ronald Araujo, whatever, he's playing for like a fucking cesspit of a Barcelona team.
Yeah.
All right, Jimenez at Atletico, cool, great, but like, they've not a tremendous amount. Like, they've still got Coates there, Sebastian Coates there. He plays for Sporting, and it's like, no man, like. I thought it's weird. For me, I was surprised when I realized they weren't falling down because the defense was shit.
They should have actually done what Real Madrid do with Valverde and take him out of the midfield and put him as right winger. Like I think he actually would have been a better fit. Like genuinely, I think that would have been a better call.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the biggest thing that flew under the radar for me was the South Korean team that was fielded against Portugal. Had left the majority of their most experienced and high-profile players on the bench for that game. They left Kwon Chang-hoon on the bench, Jong Young, who came through Bayern Munich's youth system, plays in the Bundesliga. There's a Wang Hee-chan plays for Wolves.
Yeah, fine.
Um,
Yeah, he scored
Kim
the
Min
winner at the
Jae,
end. Yeah.
yeah, like Kim Min Jae plays for Napoli. These guys are the highest profile South
And he's
Korean
been a rock.
players.
He's been a rock for that Napoli
Brilliant.
Yeah,
defense.
yeah,
By the way, he's
and
not like a bench warmer. He's actually
yeah,
he's killing it for that.
he's the
A
number
Napoli
4,
team that's killing everybody. Like,
and he didn't see a minute of that game.
Hmm.
So it just goes to show like how much team spirit there is in that squad.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to field your most high profile players in this tournament. Take no England and just play your best 11, and that's what they did against Portugal. It's whatever
Yeah.
11 best works together is the 11 that goes out on that pitch.
You actually say that about Japan as well. Like they've had the right idea when
Yeah,
they say
yeah.
because they have been doing that as well. They've been taking people like Mitoma and Minamino, who
Mhm.
I would identify as two of their better players. But if they don't fit the role that they need, don't play them. Like play the system you roll. And then again, like Japan are like tactically the most flexible I've seen so far in the World Cup.
Yeah.
One time they're playing like a front three, midfield three, back four, and then they're losing. Let's switch to a back five. Let's put the wing backs up, and the team completely changes shape, and the personnel change shape, and everyone switches around. And two subs are made, and the team opens up completely
because they're focused on the team. This is
Yeah,
why these teams
exactly,
have done well. Like we've come back to my original point at the start of this podcast. This is why these nations are doing better because Niall brought it up great with France. We don't have a left back. There is there is no plan here. Whereas South Korea and Japan, they focus on the plan rather than the team and the players that are in the team. They focus on the football, which is what you're supposed to do. And I think that's why you've seen. I mean, if you look at the knockout stages, you've got Japan, South Korea, Morocco, Senegal, Switzerland. These are teams that, and Australia. These are teams that are all built around the football more so than the players in the team that's
individuals.
there.
Yeah.
So for me, I think you're going to see some shocks in the last 16. Personally speaking, I think Japan v Croatia is going to be an immense game.
Well, let's get into it then. Let's get stuck into those round of 16 games. So we go back to the top then. So again, this is where now the pathways become a bit more clearer for the teams as well, because obviously some of them we would expect it to be top seeds and second and vice versa. So now we know for sure how these teams are playing out. So we start off then with the proverbial top left of the brackets. And you know what? I'll make life easier for us here on this call, and we'll show you the brackets now. So there we go. So we start off with the Netherlands versus the USA, the Serginho Dest derby, if you want to call it that. So Netherlands, I think, have been quietly getting better over the tournament for me from when I started watching them. Like I thought they toiled a little bit against Senegal, and then once they started getting their form back, a lot of it down to Cody Gakpo. I think once they sacked off the idea of having a big lump like Janssen up front or Weghorst, they just put Gakpo central. And obviously the pie coming back into the team as well now was quite key as well. Once that started developing, I think that team was starting to gel. And it'd be interesting to see. I think the United States shouldn't be an issue, but they will work the Netherlands off. Like we just work right alone. But the Dutch should have enough lads here, shouldn't they, in theory?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I identify the US as probably the weakest of the 16 there, personally.
If I'm looking at this and seeing what I have seen in this World Cup, I would say Netherlands have enough, but fucked if I know.
True.
That's why I love this game. That's why I love
like I look at that and go, the Dutch. Oh no, Tim Weah. No, don't do it, Tim. Don't do it, Tim. It's just one of these behind the dough kind of World Cups. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's curious, but like the thing is that the US go into this knowing they need to put it up to them. Like if they sit back or if they try and like you this isn't really a Dutch team that you can counter properly. They've too much at the back and they've too much down the flanks as well. Like you need to press them. You need to get at them, get up in their grill, and because this is a Netherlands team. What I've found from watching them is that they switch off at times. They don't never dialed in for the full 90 minutes, bar one or two players. The team has a tendency to kind of blip off, and the US need to go right. Now we've fucking nailed them,
Mm.
and then hopefully you can weather the storm when they actually switch back on,
Yeah.
because they're fucking brilliant. They really are. They're very, 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 very good. You know.
I
Mm.
think with the Netherlands, the biggest issue is falls into what Niall was saying there is Davy Klaassen, right?
Mm.
He can score a goal, he can get forward, he knows the bigger pass, but fucked if he's tracking back.
Mm.
He
That's
just
on his
doesn't
age as
want to
well. Like
do
he's
the
36 now, isn't he? So
yeah,
yeah.
something like that. I mean, gone are the days when he was signed for who was he played for in the Premier League?
Everton. Yeah, he was one
Everton.
of
Yeah,
the like 7 number 10s that Ronald
yeah.
Koeman signed for. Yeah.
He was part of the Ronald Koeman era. What an era that was!
Yeah.
Fantastic
Well,
era.
and one of them was a non, so he's in fucking very bad company there and not Everton side. So
Sigurdsson.
yeah. Thank you.
No, I think they've got enough. I would
Yeah.
lean towards the Netherlands, but with
Mm.
with the US, who knows? I mean, I just don't know with this World Cup. I
Mm.
could try and predict. I could give
Yeah.
my recommendation of the Netherlands, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, the US are touting this kind of golden generation,
Yeah,
uh, like constantly, and like don't get me wrong, they've got some fucking seriously good players. Um, Anthony Robinson, Wyatt, McKennie, fucking Dest. We've mentioned Dest. Alongside obviously Pulisic as well, and and Yunus Musa. So I mean, like, actually, yeah, it was Musa I was talking about earlier. I said Musiala. It used to be the Hale End Academy. It wasn't. It was Musa.
Mm.
I made that mistake. But like, again, I don't really know. I don't think that America will do this. I don't think so.
Mm.
Um, I reckon it's going to end 2-1 to the Dutch.
yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
It'll
Um,
be a get by, but not get by easy.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
that's what I think it'll be.
Another intriguing match actually, who again wasn't necessarily on the cards until it came out, was Argentina versus Australia. So again, I would call this a clash of styles. Is that you have an Argentina that's like drowning in star quality team players. They're not quite gelling yet, though, is the question. They're forming, they're hardening a little bit, but Australia are there. Australia are at the level where you see what they get with Australia in that sense. And in that way, Argentina are in for a fight. Like they're gonna be out muscled. They're gonna be uh
I
physical battle. You know.
I see this as far as Australia can get.
Yeah, I agree. In fairness, like I'd say it would be a miracle if Australia were to beat Argentina at this stage. I think Argentina had their wobble. I think they're starting to get their shit together now, and their players are starting to put the energy in now. So I think they will comfortably beat Australia here.
Yeah.
But like I said, there is always that sliver of doubt. But I think this one is one of the most comfortable round of 16 ties for me. Like I'd like
Yeah,
to
this
think.
is probably the only one because I mean, as full of pride and as large a heart as Australia have, I just genuinely think Argentina are always that one pass away from getting that
Yes.
goal, and that'll happen all too often with this Australia defense. I think it
Mm,
really they're coming up against an Argentina attack that if you take Saudi Arabia result out of it,
mm.
they do have just a killer instinct, and I think it's just going to be too much for Australia. If I'm
Yeah.
wrong, you know, if I'm wrong, then great, it's another shot that we can all enjoy. But
Mm.
I can't see. I don't know what Niall thinks. I can't see Australia getting one over on Argentina. I just can't. I just think Argentina have way too much.
Oh yeah, no. I think I'm fully in agreement there. I don't. I see. Funnily enough, I see this ending at around about like 3-1.
Yeah,
What I here's my and I fucking people have been picking around like ridiculous TikTok predictions and shit like that, and I have a feeling this get clipped out by you prick. But I feel this is gonna end 3-1, maybe 4-1 to Argentina. But I think
Mm.
Australia will score first.
yep.
Yes,
Matthew Lecky.
they'll scare. Yeah,
Hey,
that's fair.
They'll blitz them in the middle. They'll blitz them like, and I think they'll score like they'll do what the fucking almost Canada did to Croatia, and
Mm.
blitz them in the first 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and then Argentina will wake up, realize there's a game happening, and they'll go, "Oh, hang on, the fuck? No, this will not stand," and then they'll just turn the screw.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. So then that would obviously we'll kind of preview how we think the quarterfinals will go after that, but that's for the separate podcast. The other ties up then will be the game that you're earmarking as a cracker, Dave, which is Japan Croatia. And I'm
No.
inclined to agree, to be honest. This is
I,
tasty.
I'm warming my hands up for this one.
Oh
Like,
Yeah.
this is going to be fucking brilliant.
Mm,
Because essentially you do have not polar opposites. That'd be a bit of a disservice to them. But you've got two
mm.
different, massively differing philosophies that both work.
Complementary teams, perhaps.
I
Yeah.
think opposing ones. Like they're
Yeah.
both opposing philosophies. They both work, by the way. So Croatia, it's not slow, but it's methodical. They've
Yeah.
vast. Well, we've spoken already before on the vast amount of fucking midfield ingredients that they've got, which dwarfs anybody else. Like they really have a superb controlling midfield, a rock solid defense, good up there, good up front.
Mm.
Um, you know, but it's not very fast. It's slow. It's methodical. It's sort of like the blob. You know, you can't really kill it. You can't beat it, but it will eventually consume all in front of it.
So are you calling Croatia's new nickname the Blob?
The blob. Don't quote me on that now. But I meant that in a positive sense, by the way. That's a really positive sense.
In next month's 442, Niall tells you about the Blob.
The blob.
I can see the articles on the Athletic now, describing the Croatia as blob.
It's like in Futurama, like you're. Oh, thank you, good work, Johnson.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you. It was cold down there on the floor.
Poor little guy starved to death. And they're up against the Japan team that's pretty much made of lightning.
Yeah.
It's quick, it's fast, it's exciting, it's brilliant to watch.
It's a team of sprints because this is how they beat Germany and Spain. The exact same tactic is hit them in a 5 to 10 second minute burst and then fucking hide.
And that's what Japan are going to do to Croatia. They're going to keep with that. They're like, these guys are absolutely not going to be able to outrun us. They're not going to be able to out sprint us.
Dare I call it kamikaze football?
That would be culturally insensitive. But
I mean, like,
boom. Like it's
like intervals just straight away.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm fucking looking forward to it. I'm like,
I'm tipping.
This is the match I want to watch.
I'm like Ireland time. This is going to be on at 3:00 on a Monday. I'm like, I ain't working after 3. Fuck that. I'm gonna be sitting in the office going, yeah, lads, you all fuck off. Like, I don't care about that. But
no, this is going to be the tie of the last 16.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
It really. I mean, you look at the rest of it and go, no, don't care. Senegal have already beaten England. Japan, Croatia is going to be the one to watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, the winners of that match then will face Brazil or South Korea. And again, South Korea, I think, have done absolutely tremendous to get to the round of 16.
This is actually also going to be another cracker of a fucking game.
I think so too.
It's going to be fucking brilliant. I'm looking forward to this one as well. Not as much as Japan, Croatia, but like Brazil, South Korea, it's going to be a fucking good game. Like that's going to be deadly. Like South Korea have been killing it. And they deserve their place here. It's purely on merit. It's purely on the fact that they've been playing excellent football.
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to go, and they're going to go at Brazil because they know that like they cannot sit back. You know?
That's not an option.
It's not a good one. it's not exactly your recipe for success.
No,
but they know that this Brazil team can be gotten at.
Yes,
they've shown it before, and they just like, we have an avenue. We have only one thing we can really do. We've got to do it, and they got to do it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the South Korea team can do that well. They can implement a ridiculously high press, and they can keep it up for a full 90 plus 7 million minutes as is required in this fucking World Cup. And that's going to be another good one to say. I wouldn't be surprised if. Prediction on Japan Croatia. Fuck it. I'm going to go for it. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Japan.
I'm entirely backing that 2-1 Japan.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Blue Samurai all the way, baby.
I would like Japan to get to the quarterfinals. I really, really would, because I think it is deserved. It's well deserved. Yeah, so I'll match the lads here with my guess to Japan.
But with Brazil, South Korea, I see that going to extra time.
Yeah, I think South
I
Korea
reckon
could push Brazil on the way. Yeah.
Brazil nick it 3-2 after extra time.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
I'm going South Korea.
Ooh, we have contrarian here.
I'm going South Korea because, like you said, they can go a full 90 with that high press and all that energy. Some of those Brazil centre halves can fade out about 80, 85 minutes. I think it's going to be a shaky last 10 minutes in this game for Brazil mostly. The energy levels don't match South Korea. But I am going to put it down to a shock and say South Korea, Japan in that quarterfinal. An all East stage of quarterfinal.
That would be lovely. That would be nice to actually have an Asian team in the semi-final. That'd be great. That would be good.
A guaranteed East Asian team in the semi-final.
I think you argue well, Dave. I'm still gonna play it safe and go for Brazil because purely just that they will find, much like with the Argentina Australia situation, they'll find a way to score. They just have too much there. Like I don't think even Neymar will be in the equation here. They will just find a way to score with just whoever they have. To be honest,
he wasn't set to come back for the groups. Well,
I don't think I don't think he'd be
around the
risked
16.
in this game, but the quarterfinals, yeah, I think they don't want to risk it. They want to rush him too quickly, basically. But I'd say he will be back at some stage. I'd say if they do get past South Korea, he'll be there. So then we get to the opposite side of the brackets. This is the right hand side, very European centric, actually. You might say. So starts off with England, Senegal. Who I think this still has the potential to be a tasty game as well. Senegal, one of two African teams left in the competition, if you're counting Morocco there as well. I think I'm kind of inclined to say like Senegal will give England a proper run of this. My brain also says like if Mane was playing here, he would have absolutely loved a chance to mug off the likes of Maguire and whoever else is playing the defense, because he was the type of player who was tormented them for years at Liverpool and now gets to do it for his country. I think it'd be immense. But even then, Senegal have got plenty in attack. As we were describing earlier on, like it is not a foregone conclusion for England whatsoever.
Oh, good God, no. And
No.
it's unfortunate, but I kind of think there's a vast amount of the England camp that already think that, and I'm really hoping that scuppers them. Yeah, no, again, fuck me. If there was any one of these games that you wanted Mane for,
yes,
it was this one. Now, no doubt he is David WhatsApp group and they're going like, here, side out. What do I do with this guy? And he's like, just run around him. The guy turns like a fucking oil tanker. They're saying this about all the players because he has pretty much played against that entire team.
Yeah,
at some point or another. Or
he has beaten that entire
team. He's beaten a lot of the entire team. So yeah, he's not playing. They'll definitely be calling on him though. At least I would be. So yeah, I just
2-1 Senegal for me. 2-1 Senegal.
Oof.
I can't do it. Senegal.
I can't do it. I reckon England will nick again. I see this as another one going to extra time. I reckon England will nick it 2-1 AET, baby.
I would go with Neil and say extra time, but I'd say 2-0 England. I think they'll have to wait out Senegal a bit, because Senegal deceivingly, like again, I'm remembering.
You reckon it'll go nil? It'll end full time 0-0, and then they'll just hit them twice. And
I reckon so. Yeah, I think what has me saying that is because I think Senegal are deceivingly quite a pragmatic team. I know it's going by the games we've watched. Like the game against Qatar is obviously like fucking go nuts, fill your boots, like. But
that was just basically a buffet.
Yeah, it was a buffet. But even then, they only put 3 past them. Like the goals they have are important goals, not necessarily a lot of them. And again, that has a lot to do with Mane being missing as well, of course. But like again, they do have they have important players there in important places. And I think the game against Ecuador was like, this is them putting everything together, making everything click and winning the game. Especially for Koulibaly getting his first international goal as well. That's a big deal. So yeah, I think for me, like I think Senegal will play defensively, will play very pragmatic, will try and wait England out. And it's just down to England having superior options off the bench and using them. Just one, it could be 1 goal, it could be 2 goals, whatever it is. I just feel like it like both teams are going to try and play the long game and try and catch each other's late.
Pretty much, I think, because that kind of feeds into both teams' strengths. I mean,
Yes.
we're all saying about Senegal, and they've got fast, they got pace, they got and not an insurmountable amount of skill up front. You realize the actually main strength of the Senegal team is that defense with Koulibaly, and Diallo in particular as well.
Yes.
Diallo, who plays for Leipzig.
Mhm.
And just the first thing on every single profile of this player, like, and I've read about 4 or 5 of them, and the first line, if not the first words, always are a natural born leader.
Yeah.
You know, um, so that's it. So yeah, I think they're going to rely on their strength of defense. They've got solid midfield. They got really good. They got Nampalys Mendy, and Kouyaté, who's killing it.
Mm. You
Oh,
see that they're a curious case where they play superb for the country. Like Napolis Mendy is great for his country, but my God, at club level, he's terrible. So he's one of those weird conundrums. He's kind of the opposite of a few players there, and same with Kouyaté, you'd say as well. Like I mean, look, Kouyaté's been a mainstay in the Premier League for quite some time, but for his country, he's crucial. Like it's a very different proposition there, but the two work well together. There's a very good midfield between them and maybe someone like Sabali or someone else kind of moving in there as well.
but they've
Um,
also got a Papagui, who plays
yes,
at Marseille. He's really
yes,
good. I started picking up a wee bit on him when a Tifo football uh, video suggested that Arsenal should buy him,
mm,
because he's from Le Havre as well, which is where Paul Pogba
the
came from.
academy, yeah,
Yeah, that's where Paul Pogba came from. I were like, no, you need to snatch this guy up now. He's fucking awesome. He's still only
mm,
23. So that's why he's really good in the fucking. He's really good. And then up front, of course, you've got Sarr, who's a machine for Watford.
yeah, and somehow still playing championship level. It's ludicrous.
Well, you've got Ilman Ndiaye in there who's playing really well for Sheffield United at the minute.
Yes,
Another championship level player. But Fode Ballatore,
mm,
just one of these names that I think he's not had a fantastic tournament, but he
mm,
could switch it on. I mean, he's not been getting all of the game time he needs at Milan, but I think he'd be one to watch in this game.
yeah, absolutely. Senegal have options up front anyway, that's for sure. Like I said, that's why I think it'd be down to who has the extra card in the flop as opposed to the opening hand. If that's if we could use a simple metaphor
Yeah,
here.
but I think you're forgetting that England have Southgate playing their hand.
And we
Yeah.
already know Ali Cisse is far cooler, so therefore Senegal
Oh
should
man,
win.
yeah. If
Yeah.
it came down to style, holy shit, they just they just take Southgate out back and shoot him in the head.
Like I wouldn't mind. Like he's not even the best waistcoat manager now. The Japanese manager's got a better waistcoat than him now.
Yeah, Deputy Manager. Oh,
That
yeah.
guy's minted. Like
Oh, fuck yeah,
yeah,
great.
fucking hell.
But
Like
God, the Japanese turned on the style. I was like, God damn.
imagine
Give
losing.
that credit.
Imagine losing your own gimmick to.
Well,
it's embarrassing.
you have to remember, Japan is the fashion capital outside of the world.
Yeah, it really
Absolutely.
is. How many
Absolutely.
and
Tokyo.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those Japanese threads now, they'll just never wear out. Like they're built to last. Like,
Yeah.
fucking awesome. But
That
hey,
that 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 waistcoat's been at 7 World Cups. You just don't know it yet. It's been passed down from manager to manager.
That is the weirdest conspiracy theory I've ever seen. It's just
but
like
I am all for it.
yeah.
Fuck you, Dennis. That's the waistcoat I want.
That's it.
So the winners of that match will face France and Poland. Let's be honest, it's gonna be France.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Poland are lucky to
Like,
be
this
there.
is a this is a mullering. This is like 4 or 5-0. Like this is the drumming for me because this Poland team are waiting to be put down for me. Again,
Yeah.
I'm willing to hope that they would cause an upset, but the French team are destined for the quarterfinals at least. Here,
This is an old yeller all over.
yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Poland are really pretty much just waiting for somebody to put them out of their misery.
Mm.
And I think France's biggest problem is there's a high chance that team might rip itself in half.
Yeah.
Like there's a high chance that like a different team will come out at the halftime because they've just killed each other.
We don't talk about the other team. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the only thing that can beat France in this game is France.
Yeah, it's a case of we need
and the
to
thing
talk
is-
about Killian.
Exactly. And
Yes.
the thing is, right? They've got Pryor there, so that's actually a reasonable match. Like that's like
Yeah.
that's a very viable possibility. I mean, like I know we're laughing about it. We're going to phrase it as funnily as we can because we are jokers, but that's a serious thing. That team might kill itself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But yeah, in pure sporting terms, I don't give Poland a fucking rat's chance.
Absolutely fair.
No, I don't. I don't either. I think
No.
it's going to be an absolute shit show. I mean, they're going to get walked all over every area of it.
Mm. And
Yeah,
then we go
even
to
up front, Poland don't really have like
yeah.
if you were to do like a side by side comparison of every single position, like Poland don't have anything. Like
Like even you say you take Mbappe over Lewandowski, like that's the thing.
you easily
Yeah.
take like the one shining grace of Poland.
Yeah,
It's
like
no,
France don't have a left back. We don't need one against Poland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
You know, he like Lewandowski's not gonna be like streaking into the outside right channel. What the fuck that? If he is, there's something gone wrong. Like
Yeah, he's got a Polish presidential election in about 2 years' time. He's
that's it. Yeah, he needs to say
he's gonna do an Andrei Shevchenko and
he's gonna Klitschko this bitch.
Yeah. So so the last two games then are very, very spicy indeed, lads, and they've just recently been formed from the last couple of days. Morocco versus Spain.
Tasty. That is going to be tasty.
That's very tasty. Very tasty.
Yes.
Like Morocco, I'd say like definitely in terms of power rankings, I think they're probably they're one of the top three teams from the World Cup so far. They've just played the best football. Everything is clicked for Morocco in that sense. Like their star players, the likes of Ziyech, Aguerd, Bono, they've all clicked in properly. And then you get lads like Safin Amrabat, who's now going, everyone in like the top 5 leagues going, ooh. And it's like, wait, he already plays in Fiorentina? How come no one else has noticed this? You know,
Hakimi as well as
Hakimi, Mazuri.
I may be wrong here, but did Amrabat play for Watford?
His brother did.
Brother did, right? Okay.
Northern Amrabat played for Watford.
The wrong Amrabat.
Yes,
I did think that. I was just wanting to clarify.
Yeah.
Did I get the wrong Amrabat?
Yeah. His younger brother is Sofian, and he's playing for Fiorentina at the minute. He's the one that people are really enjoying his work at the moment.
But in all fairness, you will see him. You will see Sofian at a Premier League team in the next year or two. Although Premier League teams are run by complete idiots, so maybe we won't. But in any case, I'd get him out of Fiorentina pretty sharpish before that value skyrockets because he is fucking brilliant. He is really good. Yeah, he's really, really good. Like he's so good. I mean, there's so many teams in the Premier League. I mean, we won't get into talking about the Premier League too much, but so many teams in the Premier League that are crying out for a creative, talented left-sided midfielder. And guess what Morocco have? They've got a fantastic, Fiorentina as well. Guess what they have? He's a super talented, and he's mid-20s?
25, 26, I think. Yeah, so he's prime age. Yeah,
prime age. Great left-sided midfield. Fucking get him. Why? You just
would you take him? Would you take him over Martinelli? Yes.
No. Fuck no. Martinelli, I think, is going to set the world on fire, man. I love that boy. But it's like you look at this Morocco team. Yeah, you're right. It's all clicked. It's all.
What I find interesting about this, the added wrinkle to this, is that a lot of the Moroccan team actually play in La Liga. So like Bono is the Sevilla #1, and Nesri also plays for Sevilla, I think, or used to anyway. And I'm fairly sure one or two other players also have experience in Spain as well. Sofian Boufal, I think, is playing for
Sofian Boufal.
He plays for Angers, however you pronounce that.
Yeah, I think he was at Celta Vigo last year. I think that's what's in my head there. So so this is a team that's kind of like almost made in Spain as well, to a certain extent.
Sabiri plays for Sampdoria.
Sampdoria, yeah.
Sampdoria.
So that's in Italy. So this is a team that's kind of like, and again, the other contingent of that team are all Dutch graduates: Ziyech, Ajax, Mazuri, Ajax, and Hakimi. So this is a team that's like has a pedigree of Spanish Dutch football. So when the Spain team are rocking out, going, oh yeah, let's continue all the possession. And they realize, oh, hang on, the other side had the ball and do the exact same thing as we are. Oh, this is a problem. This is an issue, and we weren't prepared for this. So I think this is closer than it looks. I think
it's a potential shocker, if I'm honest. Morocco have the tools to get past Spain.
They certainly do, and I wasn't blown away by Spain in the group stage.
Spain can be beaten, and
they can.
They can be beaten soundly. And in the same way, the thing is, the way Spain have lost, or the way the typical type of tactics that Spain have lost to, Morocco play very well.
Yes.
know, they Morocco play to Spain's weakness. Their strengths play to Spain's weaknesses. So yeah,
Yes.
this is tasty. Like the Spaniards, if they switch off for even a minute, the Moroccans are going to fucking murder them. And yeah, this is another one. I mean, this takes. Oh, thankfully, this isn't on at the same time as the Japan Croatia game. I'd have been fucking torn there. But yeah, no, I'm like, this is gonna be a fucking
Yeah.
humdinger, lads. This is gonna be
Yeah.
fucking. That's gonna be into. That's another one. That's Tuesday at 3. That's another fucking day I'm not working past 3. Fuck that.
All the better games are at 3 o'clock. It's fucking ridiculous. Like,
I
it's
fucking love
it's
it.
bullshit.
I
Yeah.
so man. You know what? I got so used to the 10 o'clock games, just walking into work, doing
Oh.
like working for like an hour and a half, and then going, oh, the game's on. Fuck this. And then when they stopped it for the end of the groups, I was like, you motherfuckers, I just get used to this.
2 games at one time. Fuck off.
At 3 as well. Like, fuck off. Play them at 1 so I can waste.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Fuck
So,
you,
so
he's
do
played in my
we
fucking
think Spain are at risk here then? Do we think this is
Yeah.
an
Oh,
upset?
fuck yes. And if anybody in the Spanish club, camp, or country think that they aren't at risk, they need a reality check. I
Yeah.
would have thought they'd already had one because they've not played the best football. They finished runners up in their group.
They are what I would describe as a one-trick pony. But they have
Yeah,
been
but
under Luis Enrique.
it's one. They are a one-trick pony, and I think they've even kind of slightly admitted to that. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's one hell of a fucking trick. Their trick
Yeah.
is they have the ball and you don't.
Yeah.
You know? That's
and they've gotten World Cups and European Championships out of that.
Very
yeah,
true, absolutely.
in a game of football, having the ball is a big part of it. And when your main trick is always having the fucking ball, that's a good thing. Now they can lose. I'm like, Japan beat them with the lowest per possession percentage in history. They go like something like
17%, yeah.
fucking hell, like, you know.
They Barcelona Celtic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, this is great. I mean, yeah, it's Spain always have the ball, but you know they've no real focal point up front. They
Yeah.
go. I mean, yes, I know they beat a team 7-0, but like now we're into the fucking the spear tip of this tournament now. Where they need goals from, they need quality goals, they need quality up front. Is Morata going to be able to cut it at this end?
No.
Yeah. In case this is on video format, so Dave was actually shaking his head side to side for a full 3 seconds
No.
before answering that. This is going to be great. Shit, I really want to say Morocco will edge this. Really think I don't see this going to extra time either.
I will say a 1-0 Morocco.
Ooh.
I don't think this is going to be a goal fest, but I think Morocco could nick it. 70th, 75th minute, get the goal, and then Spain start to panic. They start to make mistakes. They start to push things. And similar to their last game against Japan, I guess that 75th to 90th minute, they don't seem to have an answer.
But Morocco can do it for the whole 90 plus.
Exactly.
Whatever arbitrary fucking number that FIFA has to come and think of coming up on this one. Fuck it, I'll go with it. I'll actually go 2-0 Morocco. But I think the same thing will happen. I reckon, yes, it'll be 1-0, then the 70th to 80th minute will kick in, Spain will panic, and then Morocco will hit them again. So I reckon like goal number 2 will be like that 97th.
Kind of a mirror of how the Belgian game went. Like, yeah.
I reckon that's it. I reckon that's what will happen.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I'm kind of inclined to say, like, I think it'll be a score draw, and I think Spain are just going to get on penalties. I think they're just going to get lucky in this. I really, really do. Like I said, I'm not convinced by Spain whatsoever. I think they've made some rookie errors in the team selection. I think Luis Enrique has picked favorites, but then again, they kind of paid him to pick favorites. Like, they're picking a team that I think is playing the Spanish style. And the trouble is that the Spanish style is a style that everyone has fucking studied for years upon years and can find solutions to the extent where you could just hit them at a point where they don't have the possession. Again, let them have the possession, but have it in areas that are not significant. Have them like in that kind of like that kind of horseshoe shape outside of your own penalty box. They can't do anything there if you have 10 behind the ball. And then at some point, just your law of averages will mean at some stage you're going to have the ball. You're fresh as a daisy because you've just been holding position for so long, and out you fucking go. So I think I'd like to see Morocco because spring a surprise, because genuinely they have been one of the better teams in the group stages. They rightfully topped the group with two fucking massive European contingency and the proverbial hot shots of the World Cup. So yeah, I'd love to see them do it, but I think Spain's just going to get lucky in this. Next up then
you think Spain are going to win it on penalties?
I think so. Yeah, I legit think Spain. I don't think Spain will win it on merit. I think they will win it on penalties. I think they'll legit just get away with it, essentially. Yeah.
Spain, Portugal, quarter final, maybe.
No, I actually think Switzerland's going to beat Portugal here.
Oh, I think this is going to be a soggy paper bag of a match. I'm not even looking forward to this.
Honestly, I have absolutely no faith in this Portuguese team at all.
Just sounds like a shite match.
No, legit. I don't, because I'll tell you why. Like, I've watched 2 Portugal games this week, and the reason I did was because I am very amused by the narrative that the final has to be Argentina Portugal, just from a storyline point of view. Like legit. If you're
okay.
If you're
You want
booking
to talk
this WrestleMania
kayfabe?
style,
You want to talk kayfabe?
if you're
I'm
booking
with
this
you on that.
kayfabe, if you're booking this WrestleMania style, you want a Messi Ronaldo final, and the winner fucking wins the World Cup, and the other lost to obscurity, and then Ronaldo
So
gets arrested.
you're telling me the winner goes to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns?
Something like that, I mean, baby steps, Dan, obviously.
Yeah, at the end, if it ends in a draw, instead of going to like extra time and penalties, a huge cage will drop over the pitch. And everybody throw in a load of chairs and shit.
Yeah, that's it.
Multi-ball.
No,
I watched like a multi-ball with a lot of flaming tables.
I've watched 2 Portugal games so far. I've watched the game against Ghana and I watched the game against Uruguay. And again, I wanted to see is this Portuguese team capable of winning this tournament? And on current form and from the games I've watched, absolutely not. The reason is there's twofold. Obviously, it's the dependence on Ronaldo. The whole team is a focal point to Ronaldo. But then if you actively take this Ronaldo out of this team, on paper it's better, because you've got like a serious amount of fucking talent in this group. This is one of the best squads on paper. And this is on paper.
Yeah, it's one of the only squads that's fully stocked with fullbacks.
Yes. They're blessed. They're blessed with.
I don't mean to bang this particular drum, but it's clear that whatever memo that we weren't CC'd in on, neither was Fernando Santos.
No, because now here's the very, very good point you make, right? Because I actually think the weakness in a lot of cases for some of these national teams are the coaches, and in particular, I think Fernando Santos, is a hot take for you lads, is worse than Gareth Southgate. Because I don't think he actively uses the talent well. Like, again, take Ronaldo out of the equation. You've still got a front line of João Felix, Bruno Fernandes, Rafael Leao, and take your pick of any other players. Andre Silva, who's not gonna win for fun lately as well.
They have never had a stronger squad.
No, this is their chance to win the World Cup, and I think that what's going to let them down is a dependence on the wrong players and an inability for the rest of the players to step up. That's what I think is a shame for them.
Like, if Ronaldo gets the winner against Switzerland, right, and if it's a header, he will cut his hair and frame it and put it over his mantle. My hair scored this goal. I can prove it. Like, it's been embarrassing that he's tried to claim a fucking goal. But away from what does it matter? Like, this is why they'll fail, John. I think you're dead right on this. I've had shits more exciting than Portugal at the minute, and it's just I don't like the fact that it's the Ronaldo show. I've never liked the fact that this national team has been the Ronaldo show. It's the country. It's called Portugal CR7. It's called Portugal.
Yes,
exactly. It's not called Madeira with the CR7 hotel. It's Portugal. It should always be about the team. And like you said, they're stacked to bits. This is their chance to win it. But unfortunately, it's a CR7 show. And that's all that matters to the media. Yeah. That's all that matters to the head coach.
Yeah. Now, like I said, a lot of people will kind of see what I'm saying as very alarmist in the extent where, surely they can't win this, whatever it is. And we might take this down to a Ronaldo bias, let's say. And again, that's a fair comment, because I'm a Liverpool fan. I think Ronaldo was a massive cunt. But the and by the way, good luck on that MLS move you'll never get, by the way, because the fucking FBI after you, Ronaldo. Now, but the point about it is the point I'm making about the coaching system not being good enough. Look at who they have in goal. Diogo Costa is a fucking liability. He is a 100% a liability. Look at the game against Ghana. He nearly lost that game for them. They were lucky to win that game against Ghana because Costa there had two calamities in that game that if it was any other goalkeeper, if it was fucking Manuel Almunia, there'll be a fail compilation about him. If it was Loris Karius, they'd be bullying him still to this day. But because it was the Porto #1, that it was just seen as a bit of a panic or a bit of a head melt. No, this guy is a shambles. He's a terrible goalkeeper. I remember him when we were playing against him last time, and he shifted 9 goals in 2 games against us. And even before then, it was a fucking 5-0 drumming at home. He's a very, very bad goalkeeper. Considering as well, the other 2 in the squad are Rui Patricio, who's a Roma #1 and are challenging for Serie A this season, and Jose Sa, who statistically is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. And you're telling me that this guy, this fucking calamity, because he's better at his feet, is keeping those 2 lads out? No, I'm not having it.
But play out from the back.
Bollocks. They don't even do that. They play long ball. Like their game starts with either João Cancelo or Ruben Neves, and everything else is redundant. And again, look at the players they have. João Palhinha, I could fucking rattle Nuno Mendes. They have the players to win this competition 100%. I even mentioned Ruben Diaz as their centre pillar of defense. He's not very good for Portugal. I think I think he comes out too much. He overcommits because he's no faith in his partnership with Pepe. And again, you're playing Pepe as a 39-year-old. I know he had a bit of a cameo in the.
Pepe looks about 70, man. The neck on him.
Oh,
I know.
Wasn't in the last game he was like a full 20 years older than his centre back partner.
Yeah, because they're playing Antonio Silva. Yeah, Antonio Silva's 19. Pepe's 39. He's twice his age.
He's actually twice his age. He's about 20 years older than him.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. So my point here is not necessarily that Switzerland are going to I think this is a similar situation to France, Switzerland in the Euros, where France, yes, absolutely on paper and on FIFA and on Football Manager, they trounced Switzerland hand over fist. But there's a difference between Switzerland who have like a recognized identity, a good structure in the team, and now critically has a counter-attacking option in Mbolo or Okafor or Shaqiri off the or any of those kind of options. They're now not reliant on target men to get their goals. They're getting them through different means, which is pace. And when you have a right back in João Cancelo, who is exactly like Trent Alexander-Arnold, his job is to be a creative force, not to be a defensive one. It's horses for courses here. You have someone who's gonna forgive a lot of space there. You've got Pepe if he plays, which like he shouldn't, but again, this coach has a different line of logic. He believes in loyalty over anything else. So if he plays Pepe, then Mbolo's gonna have a field day with that, because then that stretches Ruben Diaz. Someone else can come in. They've got goals in midfield and Xhaka and Shaqiri. This is a dangerous Swiss team. The one thing that's letting them down probably is that their fullbacks, again, it's a game of fullbacks here about this. They're not as strong as they used to be, and their defense is a bit weaker and so forth. But
they have a great goalkeeper in Jan Sommer.
Thank you, Dave, for bringing up my point. You have a goalkeeper who's now picking up the slack. And again, this Swiss team have kept Brazil very honest in their game, although Brazil weren't that great in their game anyway. But even in the game against Serbia, that's a team that went to win it, and they did win it. And that proves to me that this team is serious. I think Switzerland are going to beat Portugal for that reason alone, and I think it sets up a more intriguing competition with either Spain or Morocco. So that's my logic. I don't know what you guys think about that, because that was me talking for about 10 minutes about how I hate Portugal. When I shouldn't. I want to like Portugal. I think it's a brilliant team.
It's just one aspect of Portugal you really don't like, that Portuguese team. And it's the guy in the number 7.
It is. But I mean, like, I don't think I've said anything incorrect there. Personally, I think it's just that over. It's the same with Argentina, though. It's the same effect. When you have someone who's that big, all the other players are kind of like in awe of it to a certain extent, where they don't want to upset the apple cart, and the team dynamics is all wrong. At least with Portugal, I think after Ronaldo's gone, and if Ronaldo's gone and this coach is gone, the thinking's going to change, and this team are going to be favorites for the Euros and World Cup. I happily be quoted on that. But at this current stage, they're not ready. they're almost like it's they're not brave enough to be world champions yet. I'd love to be proven wrong. I really, really would, because look at the teams they have up on this side of the brackets. They'll eventually come across England in the semi-finals potentially. They'll fucking smash them. The French camp could be in disarray. They'll smash them. The Spanish team, like, they play a one-trick pony. They could smash them. Like, this is the easiest side of the brackets. They have a path to the final if they show a bit of moxie and show a bit of show their class and their guile. But it's all Ronaldo. It all comes to Ronaldo again. Like, if a few players step up, I think Joe Felix has been okay, in fairness, but like the same thing, they're all lieutenants to the captain, kind of way. Like, if they just start taking chances and start creating chances keenly, they win this World Cup hand over fist. Like, but I don't trust them to do that. That's my issue.
I'm not going to disagree with anything you say, because I think what you said makes a lot of sense. But the thing is, we've written Portugal off before.
Very true.
On this very podcast, when we covered the 2016 Euros,
that's right,
Euros ever. This is a Portugal team it's a team that find a way to win.
By hook or by crook, yes.
Exactly. They'll drag their way through this. I think they'll win. It's going to be a war of attrition. I reckon 3-2 to Portugal.
Fair, okay.
Yeah, they're inconsistent. By the way, they've beaten Switzerland before. They beat them in the run-up to this World Cup. And the Czech Republic as well, but then struggled in 2 games against Ireland. Fuck you guys. So I just think the strength of the squad will really carry them through. I really do think that. Again, we were saying that it's a lot about the fullbacks. They've got Cancelo and Guerrero, who are outstanding.
They're great. Guerrero's so good.
They're really good, but they have woefully a lot of this team has woefully underperformed. I think the only consistent great performer in this team, and it fucking actually gives me real physical pain to say this, has been Bruno Fernandes. He's been their only player that you go, no, this is the one guy who's playing really, really, really well. And it's him. But I think, the round of 16, that's got a way of sharpening the senses. This team will form up. I've actually been amazed at how bad Diogo Costa has been in goal.
He's so bad. Like, he could cost the World Cup. Like,
he is
really
terrible. Could. Like, he's not been good at all. Like, I'd get Patricio in fucking sharpish.
Yeah.
Because he's been terrible. I mean, I wouldn't even mind, but he's coming off the back of a really good season at Porto. Like,
this is the limit of his powers. That's my point.
Really,
like, he's so limited.
One of the main strengths of the Portuguese team, I think we did this on a rundown. I thought they'd Real Patricio, who's great for Roma, and he's a really solid old head. He's only 34, which isn't that old for a goalkeeper.
No, peak time.
They've got Jose Sa, again, statistically the best keeper in the Premier League, and they've got Diogo Costa, who was killing it for a good, very, very good Porto team. I thought, this is the only real. I think they're one of the few national teams where every single one of their goalkeepers is a first choice and is killing it. And then they stick with the one guys with playing like fucking shite. I was like, no, get your number 1 back in there. Get Patricio back in. You have to do that for the Swiss game. They must change the goalkeeper for the Swiss game. And I think it did. I think they won't. No, actually, fuck it. They should do it. And if they do, I think they will win it. No, I look, we've written off Portugal so many times, and more often than not, they've proven us wrong. And that's why I'm going with them on this one. They've got form for this, and they're coming up against a team that they've beaten before. There's a psychological edge to this, and they've got a lot of shithousing pricks on that Portuguese team, and they're going to use that psychological edge. And I think that you're going to see Bernardo Silva come into this game an awful lot.
I think he's actually been he's been low-key the best performer for Portugal for me, because he does the thankless job, and it's the same for Man City. In fairness, he's one of those kind of underrated players. You say it so much that he's overrated type of deal, but he genuinely does the dirty work for this Portuguese side, where a lot of midfielders don't. And I think he's making the likes of João Felix and Bruno Fernandes look better solely by doing the grunt work. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting on that side. If he's out of there, like, he's the one player that Portugal don't have an outright replacement for, because the likes of Renato Sanchez won't do that same mileage. Ruben Neves is not that player. Neither is João Palhinha. They're different players. They're playmakers.
They also don't have his flexibility, because Portugal field they go out 4-3-3 straight up,
Yeah.
no kissing. But often they will shift to a 4-4-2 where Silva will move from right hand side to the center. I was like,
yes,
neither of those players that we've mentioned can do even that.
they're so rigid. Yeah,
You
they're
know?
very, very rigid players. Yeah, absolutely. So like, if anything happens to that team, like he's the keystone to that team. So if he falls, then this team falls apart. And if he's not performing, which can happen because Bernardo can blow hot and cold sometimes. If he's not performing, then that Portuguese side plays worse. You know, but yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on it anyway. Dave, how about yourself?
What's your prediction?
I'm going to go 2-0 Portugal, but I think the shining star for this Portuguese side is going to be Rafael Leao.
Yeah.
He should be. He really should be. He won the game against Ghana. Like, he was brilliant.
I genuinely think he's going to score the 2 goals this game. I hope he starts. If he starts, then Switzerland are in trouble.
He should start. He's been fielded. He's started on the left. He started on the left every time. He was actually brilliant in their first game.
He should be used a little bit more centrally against Switzerland. For Milan, he's a key goal scorer. He was instrumental in the win of Serie A.
Another Milanese guy for you. What the fuck is up? Hey, little Serie A love it here. What the fuck?
Oh, I'm an AC Milan down to my blood now. I'm an AC Milan man down to my blood. But no, Rafael Leao, he can play on the left, but he plays a bit more of a central role for Milan, and he's shone in that role. So I think if Portugal shift him a little bit more to the middle, I think he'll score the 2 against Switzerland. I think Portugal will keep them quiet. I think they've got enough to keep them quiet. I'm gonna agree with Niall on this one. I think they've definitely got just enough shithousery, and they've just got too much muscle for them. They have to do it.
Yeah. Okay, that's absolutely fair. So out of all again, to sign off this jumbo rundown of the World Cup so far, because we're in the sharp end, folks. We're in the big leagues now. Can you guys see an outright winner of this competition yet, or is it still too early to tell? Because we've seen a lot of big teams that have already lost games. Like, there's only actually 2 unbeaten teams at the moment, and I think that'll be the Netherlands and Croatia. I'm sure there's one or Morocco as well, actually. I think everyone else has still either lost a game or we have no perfect run so far anyway. Like, no one is 1 3 for 3 yet. So
I can't tell. This World Cup has thrown me for so many bloody loops. I've gone through the roller coaster 7 or 8 times, and I couldn't tell you outright who's got. I can't tell you who's going to win this World Cup. For all I know, Japan could have a run to the final. Who knows? I just can't pick out an outright winner in this. Out of all those teams that made it through, no, I genuinely can't see the one that's going to just go. See them? They're going to run all the way to the final and take it. No, can't see it.
Looking at the France squads, as long as they don't implode, I think they'll win it.
It could be another France-Croatia final. It could be, potentially.
Yeah, that is on.
But I'm all for Japan, so I can't really back that.
Didn't you back Japan to beat them?
Yeah.
Japan-France final. Yeah.
Oh,
tasty.
That would be tasty. I think there's definitely a few teams that have improved since the tournament has started. Like, I'm looking at the Netherlands in particular. I think they've come on leaps and bounds, and Argentina. So those 2, I think, have actively got better. I think England started off well, and now they're trying to pace themselves a bit. So I don't know. Again, that's the case where, like, I think England have been consistently the best because people have had highs and lows. But that's, again, me presuming that England are not going to basically make life difficult for themselves with obvious mistakes in their teams. And again, come the quarterfinals, they're going to come up with actual proper dangerous teams that are better than them, realistically. So, like in fact, I know I was talking Portugal dirty, but if they get their shit together, they can do it. They can win it. It's just that they need to sort out their frailties there. I'm actually going with Neil there, and I think France might do it if they keep the camp together. If the harmony stays, they can probably retain this World Cup, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm like, no, I should kind of caveat that by saying I really hope they don't. I'm like, a France implosion is probably one of the most entertaining spectacles in all of football.
And the Belgian one was good, Neil, in fairness.
The Belgian one was great. The Belgian one was fantastic, but nobody does it like the French do.
That's fair. Yeah.
2010 is a perfect example.
Exactly. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that was spectacular and hilarious and
Mm.
hilarious, spectacular. So like encore. So, but yeah, if they keep it, if they keep it together,
Mm.
you know, it's not going to be a good road to the final. I think it'll be rocky.
Yeah.
I reckon if what the odds state that England will beat Senegal, France will beat Poland, they'll face
Mm.
England. I see that going to penalties.
Yeah.
You know, so I see at least one or two of the games on the road to the final going to
Mm.
penalties. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's again,
Here's a question for you both. Who do you see in the third, fourth place playoff?
Brazil.
Mm.
Fuck Brazil and Portugal. I reckon. I reckon that'll be your fucking. That'll be your second place.
So what do you? So you think the final is potentially Argentina France?
I think so.
Okay. Hmm.
Mbappe versus Messi. Okay.
Like I don't know if when we talk about narratives, like I think there wouldn't be a more dramatic irony if the final was France Brazil and it's like Neymar and Mbappe and the third place playoff is Argentina Portugal. It's the old guys being the undercard. It's like
Mm.
Messi Ronaldo for third place in the World Cup. That would be the cruelest.
That would be the most kayfabe thing you could write. Like that would be the swan song for third.
Mhm.
Yes, that would be beautiful. That would be
And
proud.
Neymar and Mbappe with the everybody hates you final.
Yeah, exactly.
I spit in your grave. Final.
I
Uh,
mean, if only Mbappe shagged the sister, we'd have the sister shagger final.
that's true. Yeah.
You can cut that out,
Actually,
Jonathan, by the way.
it'd be the battle of the overbearing parents. Be Neymar's dad versus Mbappe's mother. That's
Well,
Oh,
Adrian Rabiot is still in that French team, so like his mom is a fucking psycho.
has
that's
she not
true.
been banned? Which one of them has been banned from the
She's
status?
been banned. She's been banned from the team hotels, but obviously, but they can't ban her from the stadium because she's also his agent and management.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, she's the one who started fights with Pogba's mother
that's
over
Mbappe's parents. He
Mbappe's.
started
No, she
yeah
went at Mbappe's parents
during the Euros. Yeah,
during the Euros when he missed his penalty and said, "I hope we will scold him for that. That's a shame for a professional to hit his penalty like that." And then she got into a scrap with another set of parents. I think they were Pogba's.
they would have been Pogba's, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
But
she's
yeah,
a fucking head case.
so there you go. So obviously we're going to check in when at a later stage when perhaps we do know who the quarterfinalists are, and maybe a winner will become clear in that time. Will it be an old favorite like the French, the Argentines, the Brazilians, or perhaps someone new forms, perhaps the Japanese, the Moroccans? Because there's going to be at least one or two surprises in this round of 16, lads. It's bound to happen.
There's
Um,
been so many surprises up until now. You know?
yeah, exactly. Let's hope
I
it doesn't get
mean,
any more boring. You know.
when you really think about it, when is the last time a South American or European hasn't won the final?
Very true. Very, very true. I mean, is it is it it's I think it's on for Japan. In fairness, you know, like as you said, if you get Japan South Korea in a proverbially shock quarterfinal, the pathway's open to them. Absolutely. I
I mean, like
mean,
we probably said it before, Croatia are eminently beatable.
yeah.
I don't see this Japan team having any real issue with
Mm,
that South Korea team. I think maybe they might struggle to contain a bit of the Brazilian firepower, but I think they could do it. They could definitely
yeah.
beat Brazil. I wouldn't. I mean, it'd be a bit of an upset if they were to get through and beat Brazil, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, oh my god, like not jaw on the floor shit here, you know. Not when
Mm,
Japan beat both Germany and Spain, like you know.
yeah.
I'm a nerd to Japan giant killing motherfuckers left, right, and
Mm,
center up in here. For them to take out Brazil now isn't going to be a huge shock. Look at who they've beaten. In fact,
Yep.
both of those teams, they came from behind to win. You know,
mm,
and they
Both of
shipped.
those teams have won the World Cup in recent years.
Yeah, exactly. So,
mm.
like, you know,
To end the podcast then, right? So
end
gun
the
to your head,
podcast.
lads.
Japan are going to win it. Trust on us. Get your house,
Put
get
your
your
house
house
on
on
it.
it.
Japan
Put your
wins.
house on it. There you go.
I love that.
This is the top pick Podcast is Japan.
Japan. Boy, are we gonna look silly when Brazil win?
Domo, arigato, and good night.
Yeah, I could break up my sword for celebrations.
Yeah.